Actually,
This is Josh and Jay's Excellent Video Game Show.
Hello and welcome to Josh and Jay's Excellent Video Game Show, episode 80. Welcome KWTF listeners.
Welcome back.
I am your co-host Joshua. With me as always
is your co-host Jay, and with us as always,
Rowan.
And joining us today, very special guest from, you might know him from Gamers with Jobs or PC Gamer as well, Mr. Cory Banks. Cory, thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. You brought in the audience and everything.
Yeah, I know. They all came to see
it's
you.
the live studio audience. You can't see it on the camera, but the other side of my kitchen.
You can't tell from the camera. The palatial
They're on the
estate
other
that we're
side
in
of the
has
camera. They're behind
a huge amount of people in
camera.
it all listening.
It's like a live sitcom.
I like how only Rowan's side face is in.
It's
is
up
in
to
the
him
frame.
to get in frame.
So is this going to be really awkward when I get up and get another drink and like the video knows?
It might be.
Might be.
I should do that now then.
You can't control the Rowan.
You can't.
Just wait for it.
You're down with the agnatic, cognatic primogeniture.
That was your choice. That's the one you're going with.
It's early in the show, Rowan. Let me warm up a little bit.
Not the penises. 600,000 penises.
There you go.
There you go.
I'll grab some beers for people. Jay, why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Well, I've been playing a little bit of Luftrausers. I picked it up.
Woo.
After Josh and Rowan were talking about how fun that game was, I picked up a copy with a 40% off coupon, which are floating around Steam.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that nice that they want people to play so bad?
yeah, I was like, I'll pick this up for $6.
It's a gift to like get that much of a discount on such a fun ass game.
Yeah, and it is a fun ass game, as the Vlambeer team
It's pretty good.
Are pretty well known for fun ass games.
I'm playing it on Vita.
I think.
How is it on Vita?
Good.
Yeah, that seems
Controls
like a
real
perfect
good.
game for Vita.
I'm contractually obligated to only play games on a personal computer now. So.
Oh, really? I'm wearing an Xbox One headset.
Ooh. I don't know if I can be a part of this anymore. But no, it seems like it'd be a fantastic game on a handheld.
Yeah.
No, I played a little bit on Josh's Vita and compared to the PC, and it just like felt right. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't feel bad on the PC at all, but the Vita, just like the reaction time.
I should mention that I have this controller adapter thing for the Vita that changed the Vita completely for me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's
Really?
called, but the Vita, I always had trouble with games that required you to use both thumbsticks and things like that. I'd get crampy, you know.
It's a weird placement for both.
Hey,
Yeah.
you
So
know
I
what?
have this attachment you plug in that's also doubles the battery life, but it makes it feel just real good and
wow.
solid. It gives you real like things to hold
Who
on
makes
to.
it?
You know, I'll throw a link to it in the show notes, but I don't remember. It's good though. It was like $30.
Cool. That sounds like a
Must
pretty
have.
killer accessory. If it makes the Vita more ergonomic and it adds extra battery
Yeah.
power. I mean, the battery power thing, I might be willing to go with less ergonomic. You know, if it
No, it
Do you not
feels
get a
more
lot of battery life out
power.
of your Vita?
That's fine with me.
Yeah, I
Better
have
than
one.
3DS.
Yeah, for sure. I have one at home. Nintendo. Sorry, I'm only hearing some of these sounds for the first time. Some of these are very new from the last time I was on the show.
Sure.
No, I'm pretty new to the Vita, and I really picked it up just to play Persona 4. So
yeah.
I'm still experimenting, and I think that, what was it? Not Soul Survivor. There's some Dark Souls-like game that someone said I need to try out. But,
There's a lot of those. There's a Monster Hunter-like game and a Dark Souls-like game.
Yeah, it seems like a super robust platform, and it's unfortunate that even though I have a big long commute, I don't play a lot of games on my commute. So I'm trying to find the right way of getting into the Vita. But man, what a great little handheld.
Yeah,
especially
good.
compared to the debacle that is the 3DS.
Oh.
I'm still angry about my 3DS.
Wait.
I don't think Josh would
Unless
call
you're
it
specifically
a
talking
debacle.
about that stupid Paper Mario game, then I don't know what you're
I'm
talking
specifically talking about the first gen 3DS that I spent like $300 on, and then regretted every moment
Is
of.
that the one you have, Josh?
No, I have the good one, the big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. See, I think it's and I totally admit that I'm super biased on this, but they made the second version of that much better.
Yeah, but remember the DS Lite was like the best. The white
Yeah.
one that came out.
Absolutely.
That's really
So
good.
you have the 3DS XL.
Yeah.
I'm just generally opposed to.
I feel like that's what
acronyms.
Nintendo does, though. They come out with the big, like, remember the original Game Boy?
Right.
And then they come out with kind of the more refined
So
version.
when are we getting the revised version of the Wii U?
I have one of the. Do you have one of those?
I don't.
I'm the only one, right?
Nintendo.
I was real close, to be fair. And like, and if I did
Dodged the
have one,
bullet.
I'd probably still be playing Zombu.
Yeah, I haven't played that.
Zombu.
Zombu.
You're my Zombu.
Zombu.
Hey, Boo. You're my. It's
an
It's your
Ubisoft
Boo
game,
that's a
so.
zombie.
You're my
You're my Zombu.
that Zombu, though.
So I mean, what do you? not to hijack the show here, but like, what are you playing on your Wii U?
Nothing. I mean, I played
Poopin'
Wind Waker
game.
for a while. And then I didn't
Poopin'
touch
game.
it for ages. Oh, and I played some Advance Wars last week.
Poopin' game.
You
But-
like the GTA Lego game.
Oh, I finished that. Yeah, that was real good.
Okay.
That's a shame that's not on other stuff. That's the only Lego game I've ever liked, and I beat it. And it's
Lego.
super good. Lego City Undercover.
Grand Theft.
It's
Lego.
Grand Theft Auto Lego.
For real?
Yeah.
Is this
It's not on
Is this
anything
real
else.
life?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good. It's such a good game.
okay? That might actually sell me a Wii U.
It's
Don't tell my employer.
it's
but
the
yeah.
only Wii U game I have started and finished.
Huh.
But hey, E3 is coming up. This is our pre-E3 show.
Oh, I wish I knew.
Just a month ahead.
Predictions.
Is the new Mario Kart coming for Wii U?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Poopin' game.
And there's a Smash Brothers game coming sometime. soon,
Coming out for
isn't
3DS first, though.
there? Ooh.
It's the same game.
I'm telling you that the 3DS is like a huge successful platform, but I'm totally burned by it.
I've been playing
Burn.
Fire Emblem and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah, Rowan has my 3DS, which saves me money because I didn't buy that stupid golf game yet.
Sure.
Josh told me like I'm gonna need that back this week, and I was like,
Yeah, how's the baby souls going in Fire Emblem?
I've got all the babies now, and so I'm letting characters die finally. So that's
Because
that's
you have
nice.
their offspring, you don't need them anymore.
Yeah, I have all the characters. Like I don't need to worry about like making sure I keep all of them. And
You're down with the
order to-
agnatic cognatic primogeniture.
This game isn't. Well, I guess it kind of is because there is a king, but
Master race, master race.
well, in Exalt.
Oh my god, that's my people. Hang on.
But yeah, I have all of them, and so I'm pressing through the plot now, and it feels a little empty now that I'm no longer trying to breed my characters.
Some games are like that.
Breeding is a really undervalued mechanic in a turn-based
I-
strategy game.
I'm really looking forward to Massive Chalice. I want to get my my procedural breeding on.
Are you early access?
Procedural breeding.
Did you kickstart it?
No, I didn't. I was broke at the time, but
Okay.
I'm gonna.
I mean,
kickstarted
how many games does Double Fine want us to kickstart? Really?
Two,
A
actually.
lot. Have you seen the newest game that they're kind of
Hack and slash?
well? So there's that, right?
Uh-huh.
Which BT Dubs is delightful and it is wonderful, and everyone should play it. And I think it's out in like a week or so.
Oh, nice.
But aside from that, I mean, they're starting to publish some games too. Like they did this
cool.
partnership where they're doing they published a Scapegoat 2, which I haven't played, but I guess is the year of the goat. So more goat
Uh-oh,
games.
Jay.
But they're also kickstarting.
Sounds good to me.
They're also kickstarting, or they've created a Kickstarter for a game called Last Life, which is made by a one man team. The guy's name is Sam Farmer. I can't remember the name of his company, but he created this game, this little itty bitty demo of a adventure game about you playing a noir, hard boiled private detective in the
Jay-Zan.
future
It sounds good so far.
on Mars who gets murdered and then gets resurrected because you can 3D print new bodies for people. But he doesn't have the
in.
money to pay for the body, so he only has 4 hours to solve his own murder.
That's gonna be real.
That's a take on DOA.
Maybe, probably not. I don't know.
It's like premise wise, it sounds like a little bit of a spin on the noir classic DOA, where a guy is poisoned and he has to find his murderer before the poison kills him.
Yeah,
it's like
that's-
the premise of the movie.
That's pretty close. Yeah, his body's gonna expire. I'm sorry,
Well,
I haven't even said the name of the game. It's called Last Life, and
It sounds like a take on the intro to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Could be. Okay, that one I follow. That one I'm with you on. That could totally be it, except a little bit less short round.
It sounds a little like the David Byrne novel, Killing People.
Yeah, it's
Kalima.
It's hard to explain this and then show you why it's so interesting unless you go to the Kickstarter page and just see some of the gifts that they have of the game. It's gorgeous, and there's only like maybe 5 minutes of this game completed, right? That I've seen, but I'm not normally an adventure game guy, but this one seems really cool to me, and it's cool that Double Fine's throwing all their weight behind it.
So Double Fine is acting as a Kickstarter publisher for this game.
Well, they're acting as a
What does a publisher do if they're not?
They're
paying
acting
for it?
as a boutique publisher, so they have a lot of experience, obviously, with Kickstarters because Broken Age, they got my $100.
Yeah.
And they want to start working with indie developers to kind of, and I get the sense that they want to do this to show other publishers how you should actually do this. Like, don't impede on the developers process. Just help get the word out about the game. Help with all the logistical issues. And that's kind of Double Fine's thing right now.
Also, the
What they
Double
keep
Fine
doing with
name
games.
will then wait to their Kickstarter.
Exactly. Like, there's a big picture of Tim Schafer on this Kickstarter for Last Life, and I'm sure that helps.
That's a pretty smart business decision too. You don't kick in the money, but you definitely are going to get a cut.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, if you get a chance, Google Last Life and look at their Kickstarter. I don't know if it's still open or not, but the game looks really cool. And I'm not a point and click adventure guy generally. This one seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jay is.
I definitely need to check that out.
Jay's a point and click adventure guy and a butt guy.
And a noir guy.
Let's go back to the butt guy part.
You took it off?
Rowan, that hasn't been on here forever, man. Also,
You're throwing
Rowan's
to the
been
soundboard.
phoning it in.
Rowan's
years.
trying to throw segues to
the
sound
soundboard.
to the
You did
soundboard.
that.
don't
You
have
did
it.
that like 10 minutes ago, though.
Why?
Yeah, but then you just roll with the punches. You don't then point it out and anyway.
Well,
There's
he has
mastery
control
of the
of it.
segue.
Think.
Okay, so what else are we playing?
I've been playing Dark Souls too.
Oh, I don't know if we can get into that yet.
Okay. What we talk about? Oh,
Because listeners are going to get real pissed when we talk about Dark Souls 2 for 4 hours.
I want to hear about Bound by Flame. You guys said you have a little bit you could talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm reviewing it, and so this podcast is embargoed.
I heard it's like Mass Effect but with swords.
Wow, that's a statement.
I saw that on the Steam page.
Did you say that, or did the Steam page
The
say
Steam page says it's like a fantasy Mass Effect or something. And
that? Okay, so
like,
that's a bold-faced lie.
That's also the
First
funniest
off.
thing I've ever heard because that's like saying it's like Skyrim with guns.
It's
like,
Right.
it's
wait
it's
a
a
minute.
fantasy version of Mass Effect, which means it's Dragon Age.
Right.
Right.
yeah, well,
That sounds good.
It is much more action oriented, so I can kind of see why they would go with that instead of.
It's a little Witcher-like in terms of combat.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Is it?
So it's a one of those focus RPGs like Mars Warlocks.
Oh yeah,
And,
Mars Warlock.
Jay played
that
that.
everyone played.
Jay played it.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Rowan and I both played
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah, didn't you play some of it, Josh?
That game was not great, but it was
Triple A or
it was-
throw it away.
It was better than it should have been.
That's what they call me.
That doesn't end up on the soundboard. I'll be so sad.
I don't play games under an 80 on Metacritic.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Like an 8 out of 10.
So, okay, Bound by Flame.
So it's by those same people. They did that Orc game and I think the Game of Thrones game, the Game of Thrones RPG game, not the strategy game.
The bad one.
Oh.
No, the strategy game was the bad one. The RPG one was the middling one.
Okay. Degrees.
Yeah. So it's got that same sort of like we want to be BioWare really, really badly, but we just don't have it.
Why? Because of the dialogue stuff?
Just in terms of like they want to have like the fully fledged sort of AAA looking RPG, or feeling like a sort of cinematic kind of thing, but they haven't had the budget and the competence to quite nail that. Mars Warlocks was not quite like that. It was definitely indie-er, but it was
Endear.
yeah, the same idea where you have the fully voiced
Indie.
RPG with the action combat and all the different, customization things. But I feel like Bound by Flame, they've like finally kind of cracked the code to where it's no longer like this is a total embarrassment, but I'm still kind of having fun, to this is getting to a good game.
It's kind of the level of like I don't want people to know that I'm playing this, but I'm secretly enjoying it.
Yeah, it's.
I don't want people to know that I'm listening to the most juvenile dialogue ever written in a video game.
It's funny. The title's funny because everyone must have said, "Dude, Mars Warlock is a super dumb name for your game."
Well, we can fix that.
Yeah.
I mean, we should. The premise of the game is that you're in a dark European fantasy setting, right? And you're kind of this like hero. You're muscular beardo dude, and
You can be a woman though.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, everything I saw for it so far is dude.
Yeah, I thought that it like everything I saw indicated there was only men, but when I finally got into it, but I might actually try and at least play a little bit with the man because female voice actress is not a
all man up to this. All the voice acting is pretty awful.
I wouldn't say pretty awful, but it's just bad enough to be a consistent annoyance.
Try to imagine like a Warhammer fantasy role-playing game setting written by a 13-year-old where everybody has to say the F word as much as humanly possible.
Yeah,
and you have a lot of the dialogue. But the hook of the game is that you're this character.
So Frank Miller wrote it?
You're pretty close, actually. But you, I think fewer prostitutes. I might be wrong about that.
Okay.
I haven't met a prostitute yet.
Oh, there you go. So it's not quite The Witcher.
Can you level up and stuff?
You can. There's a whole leveling. There's like a skill tree thing.
Sold.
The hook of the game is that you are possessed by a demon, and so you have kind of these different and that ends up unlocking like a pyromancer type of skill tree. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But and as you're playing through the game, where you start allocating your points and whether you start playing as a good human-like character or a bad demon-like character ends up affecting your appearance. So you can look very demonic by the end of the game,
it's like
or you can look very
KOTOR.
human, or somewhere in the middle.
I think
and
it's
I think
the
maybe
reverse,
good and bad is probably not the right way of thinking about
it.
it.
It is like Mass Effect.
No, I think it's the reverse. I haven't.
It's like Mass Effect with swords.
Yeah.
So what it's really like, guys?
It's like
So you're saying the demon is all the good morality choices?
No.
Yeah, it's the
demon
faces
says
from Mass Effect. It's
the
a
demon
massive
says-
face.
The demon tells you that if you don't like go along with it and let it take control of you more, then your body will start to like warp because it can't contain the demon unless you give the demon space. So I think like if you play as good or like non-demonic, then your body warps more, which is interesting.
I don't know. I'm 5 hours into it, and a lot of this is glossed over me because like the story's pretty.
Cory, you're playing for fun.
I'm playing. Well, yeah, I'm playing for fun. I'm playing so that I can talk about it with people at work. I'm not reviewing the game.
Okay.
I can't even. It's so nondescript, so much of the game that I can't even like think of the specific part that I'm in. But
Rowan,
what I dig though is the combat.
Oh, cool.
So
okay.
I mean, maybe you can talk about that.
But Rowan, how far are you in the game?
I think I'm about 6 or 7 hours. Are you still?
Wait,
in,
Cory's
like,
5 hours in and you're 6 or 7 hours in, but Cory's seen lots of prostitutes and you haven't?
No, I think I was wrong about the prostitutes.
Oh, okay.
No, he was referencing prostitutes.
How
in The
many
Witcher.
prostitutes are we talking about?
Is this a selling point for you?
Yeah.
So
Zero
on
so
a
far.
scale of one prostitute,
One
to
to
10
Witcher.
prostitutes, how many prostitutes are you looking for?
I don't know.
Combat.
I don't want to play this anymore. I don't care.
Well, I do. I actually kind of like the setting. I think it's got a little bit of personality because it reminds me of Myth. Do you ever play Myth?
Yeah, I played Myth.
Yeah, so it's got this story where you have like these, they call them the Ice Lords, but super powerful magicians that are like leading armies of undead across the world, and they're taking over most of the world, and you're like the last best hope. And all these Ice Lords have names like General Winter and stuff like that, and it reminds me
Do
of.
you guys get it? Do you get the reference?
Yeah, because it's cold.
See, it's not summer. It's not Heat Miser.
Yeah.
Count Dooku.
Yeah. This is where Josh is coming from. So General Winter is
Count
an
Dooku.
improvement.
Yeah.
But it
Darth
reminds me of
Sidious.
the Black Company series of books, which are some of my favorite dark fantasy books. So like I have a sort of instinctive kind of connection that it doesn't entirely deserve, but it's enough.
I don't know. Like that's exactly the kind of aesthetic that it's trying to tie into.
Right.
So maybe
Right.
it does. And maybe it's just a failing on my part that I'm not as deep into that.
Oh, it could be. I mean, I wouldn't call that a failing. Like unless you're a
Here comes
huge
my
Black
Catholic
Company
guilt,
fan as
guys.
well.
Oh God, I failed.
What's the fun factor? But on a scale of 1 to 10.
The combat is
Like
pretty
an 8 out of 10.
pretty not as clumsy as Mars Warlocks.
That's good. That's a good start because that's some clumsy ass combat.
Yeah, it's like they got, there's like, Mass Effect 2 and 3 levels of RPG action combat.
Okay.
And then there's like Mars Warlocks, and they're like halfway there.
Okay.
They've like
So Mass Effect 1.
They're crossing. Yeah, it's a little better than Mass Effect 1. It's a little more coherent.
You know what?
What do you think of the active pause thing?
The tactics menu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually use it that much except for the potions, but it works.
Yeah. Okay.
But
like just spacebar pause type thing.
yeah,
It
left
slows
button, but
everything down. So like it doesn't stop everything.
Oh, it doesn't actually stop it? I'm not.
That's weird.
Just yeah, I mean it slows it down enough so that most, at least in my experience, and I don't video game well, to be fair, but in my experience, like you're not necessarily going to run out of time, but like if you sat there forever, if you thought it was a pause, you'll get killed.
That seems dumb.
Yeah, I'm
I've
trying
al-
to
I've
think.
always
Why
wondered
not just
games
make
with
it
pause.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other games that do that because I know there are other games that do that. Like
Yeah.
the pause doesn't technically freeze; it just does the super hyper slow
Some Final
motion.
Fantasy games are kind of like that with
Right.
the active time stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was the inspiration for this.
But yeah, the combat is kind of like Witchery, where you have you like develop your sword combos and you you try to. I actually haven't played The Witcher 2, so it's kind of like The Witcher 1, and I assume The Witcher 2 has similar sword combos, and then trying to
You can
make
have,
sure
like-
you don't get knocked over. And
You can have dual daggers, and you can
Yeah.
focus on fast attacks, or like you can have a big two-handed weapon, and then you're hitting harder, but you're attacking slower.
Can you do it ranged and magic and all that?
there's ranged. There's a crossbow too, but you have to make crossbow bolts, so it's a little. It's not like
Crafting.
something you can do on your own. The crafting is not horrible.
This is not to argue semantics, but dealing with this in Dark Souls as well, and many other games that include bow and arrow mechanics. But if you get a crossbow and then there's bolts, you can call them cross bolts. That's fine with me. Let's just get efficient about this. Cut out
It's
the
actually
syllable.
it's a portmanteau that I'm not okay with.
Cross bolts.
Crossbow bolts.
Crossbow bolts is
You
just
can,
so clumsy.
or how about bolts?
Yeah, but how do
then
you
you
know
could be
they're
talking
for a
about cloth.
crossbow?
Because you can't
What else
fire
would they be
bolts
for?
with a
Yeah.
bow.
How do you know it's not a bolt of lightning?
Because
You
you're a
look at it.
pyromancer, you're not a lightnomancer.
You could be a boltomancer. You never.
Okay,
You never
that's not
know.
the title of this podcast.
If-
That would be really sad.
Yeah, bolto. You want a cross boltomancer?
Who uses
really.
a crossbow in video games anyway? When you have a choice between that and the bow, it seems
God,
like
I
it's,
don't.
it's always worse.
They make it seem
Skyrim
like the
is
crossbow
worse.
is stronger, but in reality, the bow is usually stronger because why does a
Faster.
crossbow take so much longer to load sometimes? When I thought the whole point of a crossbow is that it's automatic and should be faster.
It's automatic to fire. It's not
Yeah, you don't have to
automatic
pull
load.
back,
Yeah.
but then you have to reload it. And
So
crack your
okay,
thing
but
and do all
like,
this
to
stuff.
dip into a little bit of Dark Souls 2 real fast.
Yeah.
There is a crossbow that you get late in the game that fires 3 bolts at a time.
Are you serious?
Totes
Arbalest.
serious.
That'd be nice.
It's pretty. Yeah. That's what it is. Well done.
I use a lot of arrows in Dark Souls. Like,
Don't
I
waste
buy
your
hundreds and
souls on
hundreds of
useless
arrows
trinkets.
all the time.
Anyway,
I
Bound by
like
Flame.
I like the crossbows in Diablo 3. My Demon Hunter.
Oh, that's a good example.
My
Yeah.
Demon Hunter looks a little cooler using the big crossbows.
Agreed.
I think the bow looks a little better than the dual hand crossbows, but the big crossbow looks the best.
I always thought it was hilarious when any sort of like vague fantasy setting involved like the little pistol crossbows. Like
Yeah,
those
that's
are,
what it is in
those
Fire
are
by Flame.
Those are adorable. Little
Pistol crossbows.
little
Someone
pistol
thinks they're the
crossbows.
huntress. right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
When I lived in a house with dudes in my early 20s, we had one of those. This was dangerous, sketchy thing. This looked like it was 400 years old, and it would just fire randomly sometimes. And people would hold it and
How
point it
did
at
you
each
not
other.
end up at the ER every week?
We didn't. We went chasing. We went to. Oh, this is so bad. There was like a bunch of chickens for some reason at this house up the street.
this isn't gonna end well.
No, we didn't kill a chicken, but we certainly tried. We went out one night drunk with the crossbow gun because we were gonna cook and eat a chicken. We didn't get it.
Sure you were. Yeah, feathers and all.
That's punk rock, man.
It certainly
Totes
was.
I don't know if y'all are Buffy fans, but that's what happened to Willow's cat, apparently. Dawn says we don't want another Miss Kitty Fantastica when she grabs the crossbow.
Oh no. Cat
Spoiler alert.
You kind of brought it down a little bit there. Ryan.
Death by cross pistol.
So Bound by Flame
But see,
sounds
Dawn is the worst.
sounds okay.
It's. I mean,
Yeah, it's like,
I think it's passable.
and yeah,
It's on sale right now for $33.
yeah, it's like
It's gonna be cheaper than that.
Yeah.
it's not quite, they want to be the European BioWare or whatever, but it's not as embarrassing as it was. So, like, if you're like, God, I need to go up some more levels and I can't play Dark Souls again, then I think it'll be pretty good.
This is the failure of the mid tier, because this is what would fall squarely into the mid tier game. Maybe not genre is the right word, but like this is a mid tier game. And this is a game where like people will think, oh, this is really interesting. I don't want to spend $40 for it. Let's see what happens with a Steam sale.
Yeah, which it will be cheap soon.
Exactly.
I don't know. Their games don't seem to go on the Steam sales all that often, but
Hey, speaking of middleware, I guess how successful of a launch did that Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes game have?
Oh, I just saw something on that. It sold a bunch.
Because that was like a $30 game, right?
Yeah. It was
I mean,
40. and
that's
then
like the definition of a big budget
Yeah.
It was like
AAA middleware game.
But that's different though, because that's
So
a
it can't
AAA
be
studio.
AAA and middleware.
Why
yeah,
not?
that's a AAA.
First off, middleware is like the physics.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Mid-
middleware is the
mid-tier-
stuff that you.
I
like,
guess
use-
okay.
yeah,
I
like
guess
a
Havoc-
middleman.
I'm sorry.
Havoc is middleware.
I'm thinking,
Havoc is middleware.
I'm
yes.
thinking mid tier.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about a game that's 30 to 40
So the
bucks.
Yeah, but
rumor,
that's
the
different
rumor is
because
that mid tier is dying. Right?
because this game
I
Bound
thought
by
the rumor was that they were
Flame
getting big now.
is a mid-tier company though. It's different. Ground Zeroes is
Yeah.
like a AAA company.
But I think it was definitely I'm speaking so much out of my butt right now, but like it's I think that Metal Gear game was the kind of the epitome of a AAA studio doing a smaller project, which kind of makes the project mid tier.
Right.
Sure.
You're right. You're right. I agree with all of that.
This is what bugs me
Okay.
about PC gaming is that I think $30 is such a sweet spot for a lot of games that we'd want to buy on Steam, and nobody wants to release their game at $30 because there's some stigma around it.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, what's wrong with this? That it's
Yeah, it's like they go with 20 or 40.
Yeah.
or 50 normally for new games. Isn't aren't most
I'm
of the
talking
big
about,
games?
like,
50
the
to
mid-tier,
60 for
but yeah.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
But
think,
well,
like,
I mean, because if don't worry about tiers for a second. Just
Yeah.
think about like, here's a game. Do you want to buy it? Do you not want to buy it? Like, we'll buy $10 games all the live long day, right? Because
Well, we
that's-
will.
that's-
Rowan.
That's what PC gamers.
Rowan will wait for a Steam
do.
sale or a 40%
But then-
off coupon.
But then bigger games come out and they'll be $50 or $60, and I feel like there's a sweet spot there for 30. And this is not taking into account like all of the expense that goes into actually making a game, obviously. So I'm talking so far out of my butt, but there $30 is a game where like if it's a pretty compelling experience, I'll drop the $30.
I mean,
And
that
I feel like more games should try that price point.
If Ground Zeroes was 2 hours long, if it was 6 hours long, they probably could charge $60 for it.
Yeah, how many $60 games have you played where the game was only 6 hours? Honestly.
Well, they're
usually
getting
go for
shorter.
8, but yeah.
And I don't mind that at all.
Sure.
South Park was pretty short. That was good.
you
I
know,
mean, BioShock Infinite launched at like $60, but it was pretty easy to find it at 30, and that's a 20-hour game.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, as dumb as it sounds, I think that in a weird way, that stigma could be easily avoided by just sort of starting this routine, or this sped up routine of discounting games shortly after they come out. Some games never go on discount. Like stupid Rome 2 Total War is still $60
don't
on
want that
Steam, and that's
game.
ridiculous. Right, because I don't want it.
Because
I definitely
the
don't want it
people-
at $60.
The people who do know they want it will pay the $60 though.
Yeah.
That's just market politics.
However, if there's a game like BioShock Infinite, very few people, well, I guess a bunch of people, I shouldn't say that. A ton of people bought it at $60 or $50
Yeah,
or
they
whatever
did.
it was when it first came out. And then the price dropped, but a game that wasn't such a shoe-in to sell a ton of copies, if a company's not sure and they want to sell it for 30 or $40, I could see a trend of putting a game up for sale the day it comes out at $50 and then literally the next day dropping it
See, I think that's the
just
wrong
so
way.
that people don't think it was always a $30 game.
I think that's a little bit the wrong way of going about it. Like
I do too.
I think
but
we
I'm
need. I
saying
think we need
in
to
the-
take some big games
from
and we
a
need to-
consumer's
We
perspective.
need to get comfortable with the idea of launching. So, early access solves a lot of this from the consumer standpoint, right?
Wait, are you saying that a AAA game should just say, "Hey, man, this is $30"?
Yes, I am. I think cheaper is better. I think you see over the long term that the cheaper a game is, the longer life it's going to have in terms of sales, especially in a marketplace like Steam.
It has to be a title that it has to be a big title.
Okay,
to
you
do
know what?
that,
I
It should be like the next StarCraft 2.
Right.
I retract my previous strategy, and I'll implement a new one. Literally on pre-order or once it comes out, just say that it's on sale for however much percentage off. That it's if a game
and
if a game is
the sale price never goes away.
and then the sale price never goes away. If you want to sell your game for $30 and you say it's $50, but it's on sale for $30, and then you never sell it for $50, more people will buy it than if you
That
just.
would probably actually work.
I
That-
know
that is
it
some
would.
economist level stuff.
I
going
know,
on here,
that's what
man.
I'm saying.
That's pretty good.
If you just let people think that it's a $50 game that they're buying for $30, I guarantee more people would pay that.
No,
And-
there's a psychological thing where
I
people
wouldn't-
say,
yes.
"I'm saving money
I'd be
by
like, "Okay,
spending
that
money
game
on
sucks."
this."
yeah, but Josh, you bought an Xbox One.
yeah, but that's a real. I have no
You
buyer's
almost
remorse.
bought
That's an
for that.
investment
golf.
for the future.
It's an investment now. I use it every day.
Yeah.
For Netflix.
Josh,
But-
if you want to make an argument for the one exception or whatever, but I think in general, if I would bet money that if generic game A and generic game B went on sale and they were exactly the same, viewed exactly the same, other than the price being $30
I'm not arguing
on
with you.
sale
I
from
agree with you.
50 and okay.
I was saying that I look at that and go, oh, there must be something wrong with that game. Why is it
Yeah.
on sale before it even comes out? And also, it doesn't make any sense. They want to charge $60 to get someone stupid like me to buy it, and then they sell it to everybody else the next week for $40.
That part does make sense because you will spend the $60, and they're kind of weeding out the people who will versus the people they need to drop the price for.
Yeah,
This is
Amazon
all
has
a long
actually
way
been
of
doing
saying.
this.
There's a long way of saying that like Bound by Flame is a pretty good $25 game.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know if it's, but we don't know how much money Josh makes. $40
Josh
might be
makes
the same as,
$11 billion.
Yeah, if
confirmed.
Josh
doesn't
makes
matter.
$11 billion, then he
11.
can buy a $40 game.
It's
like, it
irrelevant.
doesn't
It
matter.
just has to do with how I mean, it's not relevant, but I mean, a game like Bound by Flame is not a game that it's coming out next week, right?
Yeah.
Chillin' game or today for the podcast listeners. So
I don't know if the embargo is the same time as the release date.
I think it is. I looked on the website.
Okay.
So that's not a game. I listen to podcasts and I read video game news and I go on video game websites. Nobody's talking about how awesome Bound by Flame is. So it's not a game that I'm pre-ordering.
I mean, if I'm not reviewing the game, and Rowan's probably much better suited to say this, but I think it's a really good rainy day game.
No, I'm sure it's fine. I'm just saying that gets people to buy $60 games because you buy them before they even come out because you're like, I gotta play this. Everybody's talking about this.
Yep.
No, Amazon's actually been good at that. Like that's how I got Mass Effect 3. Like 3 weeks after it came out, Amazon had it for $20.
Yeah.
Amazon's on top of that stuff.
Yeah, but the $60 sale for Mass Effect 3 was people who wanted to be part of that conversation.
I got into that conversation.
Did you?
Yeah, I made that money back in a hurry.
Excellent.
Obviously I'm doing the book thing, but yeah, I
Yes,
published
Possibility
3 or 4.
Space by
Possibility
Rowan
Space
Kaiser.
by Rowan Kaiser. Hey, did you see that article I sent you
Which one?
about Tally
Oh yeah, Tally Sweat.
What's this about?
Is someone at the BioWare forums or was it NeoGaf?
It was BioWare forums.
Yeah, someone in the BioWare forums posted a big long thing about what Tally Sweat must taste like or be like.
It had it had a breakdown of the compounds in the sweat, like all this. It was real detailed.
Yeah, because
That's
like
the creepiest thing I've ever
because
heard.
like the way that sweat smells and tastes is based on the bacteria, but the Quarians won't have bacteria because they're in those suits.
Okay,
Oh, so
whose
it's-
Wikipedia connection do I need to shut off right now? 'Cause that's terrifying.
Is it,
No, it actually seemed like someone who was trained in this sort of
so it's
science.
delicious.
Yeah, see,
or-
I was just saying how you got to have
It's
a
like-
chapter on this.
That'll be the Tally chapter. I did my Garrus chapter. And,
I'm sure the doctors BioWare are aware of what Tally's sweat tastes like coming from their medical background.
I have a feeling the doctors BioWare don't care anymore. Honestly,
I-
one of them's too busy brewing beer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they even cared about Mass Effect ever. They're
Was
like,
it
oh,
was it the unloved child of BioWare?
No, I mean, I don't know. I
It
don't
changed
have
the
any-
whole template of the company.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it was kind of the BioWare shifting away from the initial,
Yeah.
well, not the initial vision of medical software that they had, but the initial, like, turn-based, slower-paced RPGs as opposed to the action
Yeah,
RPG
totally
that
agree.
it became. So, and, they left the company shortly after EA bought it. So
Dragon Age was pretty good.
it
Yeah.
was pretty good. That's a good piece of criticism, Josh.
Stoked for Inquisition.
Well, Dragon Age was post Mass Effect, so
Yeah.
Yeah, but not really though.
because they started it way before.
Yeah,
Not
because
really.
because Dragon Age Origins had such a long lead time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
It was forever.
I'm sorry, Rowan. Do you want to make the point here that
I'm staying out of production. I'm
Jay,
the
would
only
you
thing
like to make the
criticism.
Dragon Age Origins was really like the last classic BioWare game?
Till the new Dragon Age
Nope.
looks pretty good.
It looks good, but it's not gonna be like Origins.
I actually played Dragon Age 2 exactly the same way as I played Origins. Like, I mean, the potions and the spells and stuff were very
Yeah.
different, but in terms of like how I zoomed out, how I clicked on things, like they were exactly the same for me. So
While those two games were like night and day.
yeah, but you played them on console initially, right?
I think they're night and day on the PC still.
I mean, Dragon Age Origins is about doing the pause screen and micromanaging your party.
It's a
and
tactics game.
And Dragon Age 2 is button mashing.
But no, it's not button mashing because it's auto combat on once the patch came out and on PC. Like there was no button to mash.
Oh, sorry. Hold the button down and let the character mash the attack for you.
No, it was exactly the same as Dragon Age Origins. You right click on it and they go and attack it.
It
till
had a
dead.
different feel, like especially like not especially, but there was that backstab where you kind of warp behind the
Right.
guy and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's
Like, I mean, some of it was different, but the way I played it with the characters I had ended up feeling exactly the same.
But
Like I
Rowan-
played it roughly the same amount
so
as
that's
So Rowan, I
that
think
is
that's-
very much a minority view.
yeah, I think that's rare.
I know it's a minority view, but I feel like a lot of that is that it initially got this big reputation as being totally different because it came out on the consoles with the sort of Dynasty Warriors press the attack button all the time.
I just think it was
So did
rushed.
Dragon Age 1.
Dragon Age 1 was auto attack the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about pre-patch. You had to mash it. That's right. That was a weird decision.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Anyhow,
So
Anyhow, now that we've gotten super far off track, you want to take a quick break?
sure.
All right.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Josh and Jay's Excellent Video Games. In case you're just tuning in to this podcast,
Yes, in case you fast forwarded
To this part exactly.
37 minutes and 2, 3.
I'm
Wait.
co-host Joshua. Jay's here. Rowan's here. We're joined by special guest, managing editor of PC Gamer magazine, Cory Banks.
yeah. Hey, how's it going?
we are on the radio, so yes, people could just be tuning in.
I know.
Are we on like drive time radio?
We're on Wednesdays nights at 8 p.m. on KWTF, based out of Sonoma County.
Why?
Nice. That was good. That was like toast profesh. Like you just pulling that out.
I'm on top of it. I'm not drinking Belgian beer right now.
It's currently 68 degrees. 51 minutes past the hour. That's 9 minutes to the next hour.
So how about that Star Wars casting?
We're gonna rock you to the next news bits.
Do you guys see that picture of the
Yeah,
Star Wars?
wasn't that amazing?
That's rad.
How do you feel? You're the Uber Star Wars fan here.
I'm just,
He's got a bunch of people that I didn't know, so I was like, that's a good start.
I thought it was. I'm stoked again, and thus the cycle begins.
Right.
So hopefully it'll be okay, but probably not. But it looks like they're doing what I want. Yeah.
You're trying to couch your enthusiasm, but you're pretty enthusiastic.
I'm so stoked. I like that there's unknowns, as you pointed out.
it's probably
Jay.
fun for that one girl that they hired to play the girl part.
There's another girl coming. They said, but
There's a rumor there will be another
Two girls.
top
Two
female
girls?
Yeah.
lead.
It really is a Star Wars.
they
of
got
the
a black
future.
guy. But what's up with Peter Mayhew? Was like the only one reading the script in that picture.
He hadn't memorized the lines before. Well, when you're Harrison Ford and you're 75 years old, you don't feel the need to even learn your part before you show
Right,
up.
but aren't his lines?
Well, there's a rumor. Isn't there a rumor that Harrison Ford's going to die in this film? Or not? I'm sorry, Han Solo. Maybe not Harrison Ford.
Maybe.
There's a rumor that Han Solo will die in this first film.
Sure.
Somebody,
Sounds good.
Somebody a comedian that I follow, tweeted that the new Star Wars would open with Han Solo getting his ear pierced at Claire's boutique,
Yes.
which
Which would be great.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Did you guys already talk about the expanded universe?
No,
We were gonna
we
last
didn't,
week,
though.
and then I almost died. So,
So I have personally always just considered the movies canon. So
Sure.
So that's that.
But like the movie's considered part of the expanded universe canon. Like the movies have the prequel movies started calling the capital planet Coruscant, which was from the books or whatever.
Sure.
Like so they've already brought in parts of that.
Right, but I didn't. So this news does not affect me.
You're not like emotionally tied to
No.
the new Jedi Order or anything.
No,
like that.
but I like those books.
You're not.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing is like nothing about this quote unquote change is going to affect whether anyone enjoyed the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is more like I'm just stoked. Yeah, sure, do stuff with Star Wars. Get rid of the old stuff, start new stuff. You know, I'm just glad that Lucas seems to not be involved.
Right.
That's it. It's a little weird that they have all the old cast members in there, but the more I think about it, I don't see how this movie can work, and I've thought about it a lot, unless it's Harry Potter in space, which I think it will be.
Yeah. I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, you know, half of Star Wars for me is playing the Star Wars games, and like the Jedi Knight games are always going to be more canon than the fucking prequels. Sorry, KWT
Boom.
listeners.
Burn.
Or, you know, Knights of the Old Republic, but that doesn't even
You
matter.
can't decide something's more canon. It's just canon or it's not.
But like,
And,
who
you
gets
know,
to decide?
actu-
Like, because they have the legal rights to make more movies because they're rich enough to have bought it, Disney can just say something's not canon. Like, what gives them more right to say what exists in people's minds?
I think
they don't have that
there's I think maybe what Rowan is trying to get at is that there's a level of ownership here for this franchise that goes beyond what anyone says is official or not official, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing that made Jay want to write his Luke and Han /fic and want that to be important and considered required reading.
Mine involved Carthonassus, okay?
Wow, damn. Okay, I take it all back. But there's a weird thing about fandom in almost anything, but especially in Star Wars, where like you want that level of ownership. And when someone pulls the rug out from under you and says that they're changing the rules, it's going to piss people off.
Yeah, I guess I've already had my legs chopped off and my
Yeah,
arm chopped. I've been in the lava.
You
Like, it's
probably
all-
stood in line for episode 1.
Yeah.
And here you are, and you're still hanging tried
I like
and
how his
true.
voice cracked when he said, "Yeah, there."
He's a little sad. Yeah,
This is a bad.
Oh yeah, I was there.
It's.
I do appreciate the fact that like all the Star Wars games that we've enjoyed, like in Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2 and the Restoration mod and all that, like those are still valid experiences to have, and we're still enjoying that universe. And it doesn't matter if Disney says otherwise.
Once you start throwing, never mind.
It's funny. It's fun.
Never mind.
I just think it's funny how the prequels are such a parallel to showing how this pure boy grew up to be Darth Vader, and that's basically your love of Star Wars being turned into a dry, prune of hatred.
Except
No,
I feel
I
like
just think
his story arc actually makes sense, and they didn't just wave away all the important bits. I feel like I understand Josh. I have no idea what happened with Anakin between episodes 1 and 2, which seemed to be the most important bits. So,
Midichlorians happened. That's what happened.
Puberty.
mid-puberty.
I've always just thought that I don't care if people. I mean, it doesn't bother me that you consider the Jedi Academy canon. It's just for me, it's just been the movies. That's
But
it. So.
it's I'm probably the same as you. It's just that like I don't feel like Disney actually did anything. Like they happen to have purchased the rights, and they're just saying we're making the movies based on what we want to make the movies.
I think they did it so that they could. So all the writers they're hiring and people to make games don't have to weed through all that stuff to make their stories work. They can just start from scratch.
Which is valid.
Yeah, don't
because
comic
there's
books
a
do that
lot
too?
of shit to pull through.
Like Marvel and DC, don't they do
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
mean,
that?
they pick and choose sort of what main stories they want to go off because there's just so much out there.
That's
There's
what I
just-
mean.
You're right. There's too much to dig through. So, for instance, the Batman movies, especially like the Dark Knight, drew from maybe 2 or 3, main Joker stories and sort of borrowed bits and pieces of those. But you can't include everything, right?
Well, one of the key differences between Marvel and DC is that Marvel claims to have had a consistent universe or consistent set of universes, really, since, their comics in the 40s, where DC never really did that, and DC has, like, tried 3 or 3 or 4 times with their Crises on Infinite Earth and New 52s to kind of like bring everything together into the same continuity. But the whole point is that if you have a franchise or a shared universe or whatever you want to call these things, they're messy. And like Star Wars is going to get messy almost immediately. As soon
It
as
already is. Did you see the trailer for the Rebels thing that came out today?
Yeah, they're doing like this Star Wars Rebels
It's
thing.
the first canon thing.
That's going to make things messy.
It's already got it's already whack. Like it's already.
And they're like putting out new novels in the new continuity. Like those novels are instantly going to be considered less canon than the movies, and they're probably going to contradict the movies at some point fairly quickly.
Well, don't they have someone in? I thought they put someone in charge of all that stuff, right?
Sure, but
Also, that was kind of trolling when the Disney Twitter account was just like, by the way, Greedo shot first.
Well, Greedo did shoot first.
the expression on Josh's face was just one of sheer resignation here.
The movies are canon. Greedo shot first.
Which version of the movie?
The only one you can buy on Blu-ray.
The only one you can buy on
Blu-ray is
Blu-ray.
canon, is what we're saying.
Right.
All of you people who own a Laserdisc player right now, you guys are
bad
screwed.
man is gone. Okay, the bad man is gone.
I think his one of his eyes is starting to twitch. But yeah, like the whole point is that these things are messy. Like you look at Mass Effect. Mass Effect 3 has this Kai Leng character from one of the books or something.
I don't consider Mass
know.
Effect 3 canon.
It's fair.
Nobody does.
I don't consider Battlefield 4 to be canon. So,
Wait, what?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't consider the entire 3rd and 4th seasons of Battlestar Galactica to be canon after New Caprica.
No, actually,
This episode may not be canon for Josh and
This
Jay.
episode.
see, Mass Effect 4 starts out on what was the planet that had the Thorian in Mass
Pharos.
Effect 1? So Mass Effect 4 starts out on Pharos with Shepard waking up from having been messed with the Thorian. He's
my
like,
God.
man, Mass Effect 3 sure was crazy.
And there was
as
a little
dream.
boy. and he was in
Like,
space.
I think they'll do like what that happened with Deus Ex, where the first Deus Ex had 3 very different endings that you could choose from at the very end of the game. And then when Deus Ex Invisible War came out, they were like, yeah, all of them happened. Like, that's the only way they could possibly do it. So they're going to set it like, 100 years in the future and going to say that, like, yeah, the Reapers are gone now, whatever.
It sucks to be a content creator because there's no way to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
There's just nothing you can do.
Yeah, like,
I would hate to run a franchise.
I would like to, and just say screw all y'all. Like this is the way we're going. We make mistakes. We're writing serialized stuff. We're bringing in things from all sorts of other different mediums. Like these things are going to happen, and it's working for Marvel.
Yeah, you need a team of people who can tell the person running the thing no.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
Yeah, like the sort of idea that you want to have a sort a kind of universal starting point or universal point of consistency, an anchor maybe might be the best metaphor. But this idea is like really appealing to creators, especially when they want to like come in and slash and burn. So you get like the Marvel Ultimate Universe,
Right.
which is they basically redid all the stories of Spider-Man and then the X-Men and then the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, and they kind of redid it in a way that sort of like had it come from a consistent source.
But then crushed under its own weight of...
But then it got its own continuity, and it became its own thing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Marvel do a new reboot universe thing at some point.
Well, yeah, but then I am not a big Marvel guy. I've read very few bits and pieces of anything from the Marvel universe, but as a fan of Grant Morrison, I read some of his new X-Men stuff,
good,
which is so cool. But then Marvel, I hear, was basically like, yeah, we're just gonna pretend none of that ever happened.
Not none of it, but the whole Magneto thing they basically said was BS because they wanted Magneto to not be dead.
Does that ruin your enjoyment of the comic though?
No, it doesn't. But I guess it's an example where Marvel's maybe not super about this straight line of
No,
continuity.
it's not a straight line. That's the thing. Like, Marvel acknowledges how messy it is. Like, DC keeps trying to make it into a straight line, and then it immediately gets messy again.
Okay.
Where Marvel is just like, whatever. We're just gonna bullshit our way out of this.
That's so funny because the thing I've always loved about DC Comics are the Elseworld series from the 90s. Or
Sure.
the late 80s, early 90s.
Was that the one that trying to like
The
was
El-
in the future?
It was
No,
just like, let's
like
talk about
it's
what
like-
if Batman fought Dracula,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
or like
It's
what if
the
what
Red
if
Rain
Batman
series,
what
it's,
if Batman was in Victorian London, or
Yeah.
what if Superman
It-
grew
well,
up in Soviet Russia?
Yeah.
And it's I don't care if it's canon or not. It's an interesting story on its own.
Yeah. Marvel has the whole What If series that they do too. So that
They
like they're
haven't done
into
that in
that.
a long time, do they?
I think there are a bunch of new ones, but
But you're right. So it's ridiculous for some creator to come in and say, okay, we need to figure out how the Batman who's rising up against like the Soviets' Red Sun Superman in the Eastern Bloc, like
Yeah.
how that is one of 52 parallel universes, and like that whole thing is frustrating because, like you said, Corey, their fun is a separate thing. They can be their own separate, interesting thing.
Right.
They do not have to be. They do not have to be like put in a context with everything else that exists.
yeah.
I don't need to know what would happen in a fight between Red Sun Superman and like Earth 2 Superman. Or
Okay, you don't need to know that because you do know though. let's just be honest for
American
a second.
Superman would win because America.
You know, Earth 2 Superman would win that fight,
because America.
right?
Right.
But you're right. I don't need to read somebody's
Oh my God, we just all
version
agree.
of that.
Well, except for Josh, but
Yeah.
I don't
Sure.
think he cares.
Yes.
Josh,
Um,
Josh
yes.
is wondering if Superman could be a Jedi.
No, I was just thinking it'd be awesome to have a movie that was called Han Solo versus Boba Fett in the Land of the Sand People.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That'd be rad. No dialogue either.
Why aren't you working for Disney? That's
Right?
awesome.
Because Disney wants to bring everything into like the specific epic canon that they have. They don't want to do like fun, ridiculous side stories that may not be.
Yeah, there's-
They've already said they want to make a movie every year. They're gonna make a Boba Fett movie. They're
Yeah,
gonna do all
but they
this
want
stuff.
to. I think they want to do it like the Marvel movies, which have not collapsed under their own continuity yet, and will, especially with the TV shows they keep adding.
Well, what about my idea? Wouldn't work with that.
It would work like in an intellectual, canonical sort of way, but it wouldn't work because they want to like control tone and have each movie be like an epic event sort of thing. So
Are you sure?
a fun one
Because
shot.
that Rebel cartoon was pretty.
A cartoon, yeah, but maybe a movie, I don't think so.
Oh,
Make it-
cartoons aren't as serious as movies now. What do you what are
Weekly,
you saying,
a
Rowan?
weekly show is not going to be a series.
What do you have against anime?
Burn. Don't
Mostly
open that
the
up.
gasping girls and shrieking.
What do you have against Family Guy?
Oh gosh, that
Reliance on reference humor and
No, I'm
general
actually with you on that
nihilism.
one. I'm just fucking around.
Although I do still like the original couple seasons of Family Guy, but after the break, I don't think they lost it.
I hate stories.
and that's Bound by Flame.
Yeah, thank you. What's next?
So Steam has this sale going on now. Not when this episode comes out, but Steam has had this sale on Star Wars games,
Yes.
and I think this would be a good time to talk about some of our favorite Star Wars games because Star Wars has some really awesome games.
Well, we've already gone over
kind of did it,
KOTOR's 1
yeah.
and 2 pretty thoroughly on this show. KOTOR's. No, KOTOR's.
No, that's correct. Knights of the Old Republic. That's
It
that's
already
exactly.
is right.
Surgeons General,
Yeah.
Courts Martial.
Demons, Soul. Oh wait, that's both. Yeah.
But it
French and
should be
Spies.
Ground Zero. But we've already talked about that, right?
So I don't know if you could get people to. I don't know if the servers are still populated or not. I know Wes Fenlon at PC Gamer just did like a big Jedi Knight 2 at 4K screenshot gallery thing.
Oh,
He was-
really?
and he was playing. Yeah, we played it at 4K, downsampled it, and then like he was actually like running around and playing a little bit of multiplayer. But I don't know how full the servers were.
I
But
mean,
I have such a deep love for Jedi Knight 2's
Is that the
lightsaber
Academy
duels.
one?
Academy would count too,
Okay.
but I specifically played the one before.
Mm-hmm.
The lightsaber duels were so much fun.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like Jedi Academy a little more because I love the saber staff.
Sure.
Do those games hold up?
I think 2 and Academy will. I think
as
the first
far
Jedi
as like
Knight.
single player games,
Yeah.
for sure those two would.
Yeah, I was just messing around.
The
with Academy.
original
That's
Jedi
good.
Knight was made kind of in the transition between, whatever control you want to use to mouse and keyboard.
Right.
So it really doesn't like mouse and keyboard much at all.
I don't. Was it even straight up like it wasn't DirectX?
I don't know about that.
I played the original Jedi Knight on like a weird ass like Matrox Mystique video card that was not DirectX
Whoa.
3. Like
Yeah.
it was super strange. So I don't know.
On a Tandy.
I don't know how that holds up. I do know that like if you get the expansion for that, and all these games are as we're recording this pretty cheap on Steam. Like the expansion to the first Jedi Knight has Mara
Mysteries of
Jade
the
in
Sith.
it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is kinda neat.
Are those is that like player like fan created content, or is that an actual?
No, that's
like-
actual expansion.
Yeah, they made it, and it was actually very difficult to find. I don't think it sold very well, so I never actually.
Does it
got
is
it.
it packaged with the game on Steam?
I think so.
If you bought the bundle, you'd get it. Yeah.
I know that Academy. I didn't try the first one, but Academy definitely you can mess with it and get it up to 1080. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jedi Knight 2, you definitely can.
Yeah,
'Cause
Jedi
it's
Knight
like
2
Quake 2 engine.
Yeah.
Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Academy, they're modern. I mean, they're very early modern, but they're like in the same. They're
Dude, I can't get the downsampling stuff to work with Dark Souls.
But
Oh, with the mod?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
It brings my frame rate below 60.
Yeah,
You know what?
which is a problem.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let's say goodbye to our KWTF listeners. Goodbye, KWTF.
Goodbye,
Bye.
Kaden.
Thanks
Go
for
to
listening.
go to joshjshow.com to hear the rest of the podcast or subscribe to it on iTunes, etc.
And
Y'all are
PC
rad.
Gamer and Gamers with Jobs.
Oh, yeah, you could go check that stuff out too. Appreciate it.
Go to those sites.
And kickstart Rowan's book about Tally Sweat.
Yes, definitely. do
Tally
that.
Sweat.
possibility sweat.
Possibility Sweat. You heard it here.
Thanks for the plug, guys.
Yeah, the original Jedi Knight is one of my all-time favorite games, and I don't think it's really that possible to go back to
Like an
very
8 out of
easily.
10.
Yeah, but it's at least an 8 out of 10, maybe like an 8.3.
Like an 8 out of 10.
I really like that those games, and I'll even lump like Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Academy into this. Like, there's just something about the way first-person shooter mechanics works in those games
well,
that I'm really into.
There,
A funny thing about about Jedi Knight 2, it's the only game where the first-person mode makes me seasick.
Really?
Yes. I am perfectly fine with every other first-person
Have you ever like
shooter.
adjusted FOV or anything?
I don't know what it might be. I might do it again if I ever play it again.
I mean,
but-
if you hacked into the Quake 2 engine stuff,
Yeah.
you could probably change the FOV. That's odd. But
That
like,
game-
man, the lightsaber duels.
So good.
So I used to hold up Jedi Knight 2, and Academy accounts for all of this. I just didn't
Yeah.
play a lot of Academy. But I used to hold up Jedi Knight 2 in the way that it handled server structure for lightsaber duels, where like 2 people would fight at a time and everybody else was spectators.
oh, that's cool.
That was
I
how
never did that.
fighting games needed to work.
Yeah.
And here it is, 2014, and that's how fighting games work now.
Yeah.
Like,
I just love
ahead of its time.
when I think of that game. When I remember it, what I remember most is being on cliffs and force choking dudes into the air and throwing
Yes!
them off cliffs.
The level where you get force choke in Jedi Knight 2, or where you're able to get it and move people, like when you initially get it, you can just choke them, but then
Yeah.
you can throw people.
Yeah.
You like the first thing you do in that level is you run
Boom.
into like a Star Destroyer's engine room, which is just like this huge gaping pit with like passageways around the side that you run around. So it's just like you run up, grab a stormtrooper, throw him over the side. Hello.
I just see your arm waving. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's just like stormtrooper toss, stormtrooper toss, stormtrooper
Yeah,
toss.
yeah,
It's
it's the
so
best.
great.
Rowan's force pushing himself out of view of the camera.
Outside of that,
KOTOR,
and,
KOTOR.
and Knights of the Old Republic, like,
Uh,
I can't think of a lot of other really great games that aren't like TIE Fighter and too old to play.
Yeah, you know, I
Republic
like
Commando.
I wasn't into it.
That doesn't hold
I,
up. Though.
I understand like why people would love the squad mechanics and stuff. I wasn't into it.
It wasn't like the squad mechanics are good, but it's just like this is like if the prequel movies had been good. Like it's from a universe where that had happened. So it's got this kind of like cool Star Wars vibe, but it uses prequel movie like
yeah.
assets or whatever.
Yeah, I
settings.
remember enjoying it. I went back to try to play it again though, and I think there was some graphical stuff that was
Yeah.
not okay.
It's a little awkward in some level, but it's just like it's also just like really playable. It's not like a game that I would ever say is like one of my all-time favorites, but it's also a game that I would say is just like it's fun to sit down with. It's short, it's fun.
Sometimes and Rowan, this is not to pick on you because I totally understand what you're saying here. I mean this in much more of a general sense from coming from other people who might not articulate further upon their point. But sometimes when people just in general say that a game is playable, I hear it the same way I hear a pretentious person say, this wine is really drinkable. I'm like, oh, you mean you can drink it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a game and you can play it?
Well, Bully is not playable for you.
No, I'm
Right?
speaking more about like AAA games.
No,
the big,
I have it on 360. I can play it just fine.
Oh yeah.
the big blockbuster games. Like I have trouble like sitting down and having those maintain my attention for like more than 45 minutes, just because it's just like there's so much stuff happening, and I feel like I have to like be really invested and like really want to deal with your Uncharted's and your Tomb Raiders and so on, that just like have all these things going on. Whereas I kind of like a game that's a little messier.
Yeah, I know. I am with you. Sometimes a game that's a little janky, it makes
Yeah.
it more interesting.
Speaking of janky, Masters of Terrascasi.
Yes, thank you.
It's my
I was
me and my
hoping we'd
roommates.
bring it up, man.
I've said this before on the show, but it was before the internet told me stuff was bad. So
Yeah.
I loved that game. My roommates and I played
God.
that game nonstop.
You didn't have a Computer Gaming World telling you it was bad?
Now we have
You
EGM,
can play as Thok, a Gamorrean guard.
and I would.
You know what's funny is that even back then you could call the Nintendo fan club, and even though this was a PlayStation game, they'd tell you that Masters of Terrascasi wasn't very good.
Yeah, Darth
Star
Vader was
Wars
overpowered
chess.
until they patched it.
Totopi, yeah.
All right, I have to say this is one that if I can find it on the PlayStation Network, because it's a PS1 game, I don't know if it's available. But when you were talking about that thing where if you download
the Vita?
the PS3 version of the PS1
Yeah.
Classic, but then you don't install it and you transfer the uninstalled
Yeah.
file to your Vita
It'll work.
and then install it on there, it will work.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that one of the games included on that list is Jedi Power Battles, because that was one
Was
of
that
my
the Twisted Metal one?
No.
There was a Twisted Metal one.
No.
What's Jedi Power Battles?
Jedi Power Battles
That
was a
was-
PS1 game
That was like a fighting game that didn't totally suck.
yes. It wasn't a fighting game. It was
Oh.
it was a action game like
It
side.
was like a Dynasty Warriors kind of thing.
no, it was like a side-scrolling action game
What are you
where
talking
you
about?
would
Oh, it was like a. It was
you would
like, almost like
upgrade your-
Streets of Rage.
you would upgrade your force
Oh.
powers. You would upgrade. It was kind of like Contra, but
With lightsabers.
more complicated with lightsabers and force powers. And you could play it 2-player cooperative, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I remember this.
The game was awesome. Game was so good. You get different crystals for your lightsaber, and different lightsaber crystals would give your lightsaber different abilities. It's probably the predecessor to like the Force Unleashed.
This is an episode 1 game that was drowned out by the bullshit that was pod racing.
Yes, which is unfortunate because
Oh,
this
for
is
the
such
N64, that game was all right.
this
No,
Oh.
can't agree.
Okay, well, what about Star Wars Demolition, which was the Twisted Metal?
no no
I
Get
played
outta
that.
here. Get out of here with that.
So real talk, like it's actually pretty much okay to take any kind of genre of game and put Star Wars on it. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna get middling results. At
I
best.
can't wait. I can't wait for the Admiral Ackbar Octodad game. That's
That would, oh my god, how is that not a mod already?
I don't know, but
yeah.
if you could have Admiral Ackbar be Octodad, that
Octobar.
yeah,
Akbar.
Ackbardad.
Force Unleashed was good, except for the boss battles.
I
Did you guys-
I never played it.
That's good.
Yeah, I still haven't played it. Did you guys ever play Battlefront? I hear people love that, but I never.
I was never into Battlefront.
Yeah, but I
I
never.
like
didn't
I
play
understand
multiplayer
why people
games,
would
so.
be. Like there's actually like a weird cult following for
Yeah.
Battlefront 2. I don't understand it.
But well, is Battlefront that's like Battlefield, but
Battlefield
Star Wars.
meets Star Wars. So it's basically like the Battle of Hoth.
Was
Over
someone
and over
doing?
and over.
Oh, that game is fun. That game is kind of cool because
There's your review.
Because that's the one where you can fly around in the little whatever that little it's not a speeder bike, but it's the little mini
Yeah.
winged speeder
The
thing.
A-wing?
The swoop?
The little
Oh.
the swoop. No, not
Okay.
the swoop bike. The little A wing thing where you shoot the magnet toe and you try to trip
Yeah.
up the big
Snowspeeder.
the big
No,
AT-ATs.
A-wing. There's an A-wing.
Yeah.
And on Hoth?
On
Dude,
Hoth,
I am not
I don't know
gonna
if they
I am
were-
not gonna get drowned out in a weird debate about.
Let's
what
go
model
have our
number
own
this
Star
thing
Wars
is.
warfare later on.
All I'm saying is I remember playing that. That's one of
argue
the
about
few.
the relevance of a Y-wing. It'll be great.
Wait, are you talking about Rogue Squadron?
Maybe
Yeah,
I am.
aren't the ships that they flew in Rogue Squadron, aren't those A-wings?
Those are snow speeders.
Oh, shit.
A-wings are the ones with the red stripes.
Whatever the little tiny ships are.
The magnetic tow cables.
with the
That's what you're
magnetic
talking
tow
about.
cables where you would shoot
Yeah.
and then you could also like launch out of the ship, right, and like have the tow cable connect to you and then like a zip line zip you up to the compartment.
That was well.
I'm conceding to Josh here.
I think that's been in a lot of
Yeah,
Star Wars
there-
games.
but
though.
this one was specifically
But
like
which
this
one
is
are
the
we
Battle
talking
of
about?
Hoth. I don't know. 'Cause
So
I don't-
we're talking about Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront, which the map that everyone loved was basically a recreation of the Battle of Hoth. And
That
so
had
there
a-
were vehicles that you could hop into,
Yeah.
but it was mostly like you were a foot soldier and you were either on the
I really
Imperial or the
doubt that's
Rebel
what Jay's talking about, though.
side. Really?
Was it a multiplayer game?
was there
Yeah,
another
it was
game
multiplayer.
where you played the Battle of Hoth
Yeah,
flying
Rogue-
around shooting
Rogue Squadron.
cables?
Rogue Squadron,
Then
yeah.
it was probably Rogue Squadron.
There-
Okay.
Or
You
Rogue
also
Squadron
reminded
2.
me of another Star Wars game that I know you guys aren't that into, but Lego Star Wars 2, which was the original trilogy, was so good.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm just not a big
Can't
Lego,
deal with the Lego
game,
games,
yeah.
except for Lego City Undercover, which is
You
9
might
out of
like
10.
Lego Star Wars 2 because Star Wars, that might like be the thing that gets you into the Lego frame of mind.
I have played them.
Don't
Couldn't
waste
get
my
into
time.
The first Lego Star Wars, which is based on the prequels, was both based on the prequels and kind of bad on its own. But
What's the sword and shield? There's a mod that people are getting into, and someone's doing a diary.
Star Wars. Okay,
Conquest-
so this is my boss doing this.
Okay, what is this?
Star Wars Conquest, which is a mod for Mountain Blade, which is
Oh yeah. I know.
which is Mountain Blade but set in Star Wars. And Evan Lottie at PCGamer.com is doing a diary of playing through this.
Nice.
And like, you guys have to understand, I don't like to suck up to my boss, but I really love
he's
what
a
he's
real
doing with this.
asshole.
Yeah, he's most of the time he's a jerk, but this time he's really cool. No, he like the newest episode of this diary that's out right now has him teaming up with Leia, and Leia just pulls out a dagger and just fucking murders everyone in the battle. It's so awesome.
That sounds amazing.
I've seen screenshots, and it looks like an old school army fight. There's just 100 people on one side, 100 people on the other side of the field.
It's
and
really, you end up building an army of like Star Wars characters and creatures, and then they all go to battle.
Yeah, so Mountain
I really need to
Blade.
play this game.
It's great.
Mountain Blade.
I'm scared
for,
of it because it's great.
For those that aren't familiar with Mountain Blade, it is it's a full-on like first-person melee combat game that's set in medieval times. It's like melee combat medieval times the game.
But it's also got a
highly
whole
detailed
strategic
combat.
layer where you like recruit people and
Yeah, where you're building up an
yes,
army.
Yeah.
there is, but essentially
like
the
kind of
combat
realistic-ish,
is
right?
one-on-one first-person combat.
Like if
and-
you get hit with a sword, you're gonna die.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is and the diary that he's doing is a mod for it that themes everything in Star Wars and just keeps like a ridiculous layer on top of it. Like he was in some sort of a big fight in a bar where he was shooting at a bartender that was a hut.
Yeah.
And the hut wouldn't die. And he's just like unloading his blaster into this guy and the hut wouldn't die. And what makes this really cool is like he's also using like a bunch of GIFs because it's not a game that you can just talk about, right? You need to see some of it in action because it's ridiculous looking. And
It sounds crazy.
It's a mod.
Yeah.
So yeah, really cool. I don't know about you guys.
Enthusiasm.
Like we're talking about this. I'm 3 beers in and I feel like I could take on the whole empire myself.
yes. well, Mountain Blade.
Don't say that out loud.
Mountain Blade is like a spazzy, messy game. You know, like as far as first-person combat games go,
Right.
I know that when I tried it, they have free weekends of it on Steam all the time. It's one of those.
I
games.
have it.
I would be really surprised if people listening to this don't own it. It's really hard to not own Mountain Blade at this point.
I
I
don't.
don't.
I don't own it
You don't
either,
own
but I've
Warblade?
played it.
I don't think so.
Wow.
Though I do own some weird stuff. I think Steam keeps giving me games that I never asked for.
It's a game where like a pretty small team made it, and they've been completely devoted to it over the period of like 5-6 years, and they've put out different expansions of it that end up being kind of separate games that tie everything together. Like it's really well supported, and there's a pretty dedicated community for it. And then going one level deeper, there's this mod, Star Wars Conquest, which is just even more ridiculous.
Yeah, I might want to check that out. Corey, you work in the industry.
Oh,
Has
God, don't
anybody
say that.
ever seen a screenshot or anything of the console version of Elder Scrolls Online?
Have people seen screenshots of it?
Like of the interface
Yes.
of every... I looked, I couldn't find anything on that.
I haven't, and so I wouldn't be able to really talk about it. Are you dying to play the console version
No,
versus
I
the
know,
PC
but
version?
I was just wondering because I looked like really hard yesterday to try
Do
to
you
find...
want me to like? Are you like saying that?
Sometimes
like, you
Josh
don't-
gets obsessed with just like UI and UX stuff in general.
Well,
I get
because
that. I get that.
That's a big deal. if
It's
this thing works.
that's an important game to get right on the consoles.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
there'll be preview stuff soon. I think it comes out in
Because
June.
they sure as
so.
hell got it wrong on the PC.
yeah, I don't think that the way that they tailor it to the
Burn.
consoles
So I against my
Rowan's rant.
publication, which
Rowan's
gave the
rant.
game like a 68. I like Elder Scrolls Online.
I got a lot of friends really into it.
Yeah.
That's why I was just saying if they got the couch thing right, it might be enough to make me play an MMO.
I'm into it. I feel like there is a significant amount of investment you have to make into it to get to the part where the game sucks you in, and there are clear issues between how much this game wants to be an Elder Scrolls game and how much of it wants to be an MMO. I think that's a huge battle.
Yeah, I played the beta a couple weekends of the
Yeah.
beta, and I got that impression. It's
I felt like it took the worst of both worlds, but we've talked about that.
Sure.
Man, that beta was boring as hell.
Yeah.
So the beta may not be a fair critique because it is a different game for better or for worse, depending.
I hope for worse.
when there are more people in the world.
Okay, I hope for worse because it was bad.
I've heard you actually
mean for
can
better?
explore and find quests by exploring, which is rare.
Yes and no. I honestly can't sit here and defend everything about the game. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of bits of Elder Scrolls Online that I'm into, and it's the kind of game where like it's almost review proof, honestly, because there is a diehard contingent that wants to be into this game, and I feel like the game is going to evolve over the next 6 months to a year.
Of course it will.
In a way that I think is even different for MMOs.
Oh.
But it has a really tough problem because there is a huge part of the community that is super into MMOs, and they expect a lot of data in front of them, and they expect to be able to min-max, and the game is not designed for that. From a UI standpoint, it wants to look like Skyrim.
Because
From a
the
game-
thing that you loved the most about Skyrim was the interface.
From a well, yeah, a lot
Burn.
of people do actually.
Burn.
Because Skyrim is designed to be this very open and transparent and interactive experience where you don't need a lot of data in front of you. You're just gonna go and do things.
Well, yeah, I meant more like dealing with the menus and stuff, which you
Yeah,
have to do a lot more of in a massively multiplayer
so many
RPG.
people. You know what? Dark Souls 2 gets the opening menu of its game so wrong.
Dark Souls 2, if you quit, oh my god.
It
Yes,
takes- it
let's
takes
talk
an
about this.
additional
Let's talk
30
about
seconds.
this. Let's talk about
If that's the only thing we talk about Dark Souls 2, it's the most annoying shit ever.
And I didn't. To be fair, I did not mention this in my review, and I wish that I had.
If you want to quit the game, you have to start the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the Windows Start menu to shut down.
This is and there. I kind of forgive it a little bit because there are so many things about the PC port that works. That they got right compared to
Yeah.
the first game, but this is a console trapping because
get too much credit
You
for
play
that.
this on the Xbox, and you would just hit your guide button, and you'd hit Y, and you go back to the Xbox dashboard,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like nothing ever happened. You can't do that in the PC version.
No,
This one-
you exit, you hit quit, you go,
And it brings you to the title screen.
but then it logs in.
No, the title screen.
Oh, that's right, you have to press A.
You have to
Yeah, you
press.
go to the login,
you have
then
to
you
press
hit
the
start,
button.
then it
Then it
logs
logs you
in.
in.
Then it now, which this is new from when the game launched on PC. Like now, you get a whole message that you see every single time about
yeah.
them building their community.
Yeah.
You have to hit A through that, and then you can decide if you want to load your game or quit.
Right.
It's so weird. Aren't I already
But
logged
it's
in?
but it's a test. No, you're not. You log in every single time.
Right, I know, but I mean,
As soon
I was
as you-
logged in when I
no,
hit
but as soon as you quit,
Oh, it
you
logs
log
you
yourself
out,
out.
yeah.
But it does not quit you out of the program.
This
So
game
we-
this game is like the
Consider it your first test.
No,
It's
this
like,
game
Are
is
you
like-
patient enough to get through the menu? Because if
Well-
you're not, then don't play this fucking game.
Well, this is actually what I said to Josh when I first played it, or when I played the first time, or I might have posted something on Twitter that like the terms of service makes you scroll down through it super slow.
Yeah.
It takes
And
like
so
10 minutes.
I'm like, damn, even the terms of service is hard to get through in Dark Souls.
I can't. I'm
But
not,
you
can't
could
sit here and
click the
defend
mouse
but I
on it
will.
and drag it down.
I was using a
This
controller.
PC
I was
port-
using a controller too. I was just like, I'm not scrolling down through this. I'm using
You
the
were
mouse.
using controller. You lost your mouse. You didn't know where it was.
I had to get up
Yeah.
off my couch and go over to my desk and
Oh, 'cause
scroll
you're
down.
playing- 'cause you're
Yeah, of
playing
course.
CD, yeah.
But so this game is getting all this credit for its PC options.
Are we? Hang on. Are we shifting to Dark Souls 2?
Sure.
Okay.
So it's getting all this credit for PC options, and
Guess I'm finishing the other
it,
beer.
it shouldn't get them. This is like the guy that says, "I'm a good boyfriend because I don't beat my girlfriend." It's like you're not supposed to beat your girlfriend.
That's not fair.
Why? This
What
because
you just said is not fair.
it goes to 1080p, and that's suddenly it's this great port.
It goes to 1440p.
Yeah, 1080p. That's like, he's a nice guy. Other than that. He's
I've
good.
I
He's
have
a pillar
I
of
have
the community.
played. I've played.
What's
Dark
up that my
Souls
mouse
2.
is in the middle of the screen every time I hit start? Is your mouse in the middle of the screen every time you hit start?
No.
Really?
You
Not
don't
every
have the
time.
cursor?
I get it. I get the cursor like
when you
sometimes when
sit
I'm
at
loading.
a bonfire.
Any
right?
menu.
Well, not when I sit at a bonfire, but when I like load from when I bonfire travel to another area.
Yeah, I get it then too, but I also get it anytime I'm in any equipment.
There is an app that you can use to hide that. Oh, so okay.
Right, but that's
Okay,
what I'm
wait,
saying.
Back up. So, as someone who gave this game a 91
Oh yeah.
for a reputable, I suppose, magazine and video game
I
website,
suppose.
I would say that
The
Dark
most
Souls-
reputable and last PC gaming
Dark
magazine.
True. Also a website. Please go to the website. It's okay. You don't have to read the magazine. Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition was a PC port of Dark Souls, the console game. And From had designed this as primarily a console game. And when they made their PC port, they failed spectacularly. They failed in a way that if a politician failed, their career would be over. It was awful and bad and horrible. And it was only saved
True.
by the grace of a modder in Austria who looked at the game and said, I can fix this in 30 seconds, and then did.
Yeah, it was
Right.
out like day one, right? Or it was just
Out day one because someone on NeoGAF complained, and Durante saw it, and Peter Tommen, who is amazing, and has already created a mod for Dark Souls
Oh, yeah.
2.
yeah, which I'm using. We can
We'll
talk
get
about
to that. Yeah.
So Dark Souls, the PC experience, the first game, was horrendous unless you put this patch on. And I will say that, understanding of the fact that Dark Souls 1, the first game, is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can suffer through all the PC port crap, like, there's still an active community playing it on the PC. So when I give Dark Souls 2 a 91 and talk about how much better of a PC port it is, I'm willing to forgive things like every once in a while a mouse cursor is going to show up.
Right.
Do you know why I'm okay with forgiving that?
Why?
Because now you can play the game with mouse and keyboard, and you couldn't before.
Yeah.
Is that a good experience?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Okay.
It's highly configurable. I think it's not going to be surprising to see speed playthroughs of this game where people are playing with just mouse and keyboard because they've highly configured how they.
I'm gonna play it with the Steam controller.
Can you
Yeah,
jump?
good luck with that.
Can you jump, attack, and not have it be utterly ridiculous with the mouse and keyboard?
You can't jump and attack in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's just a limitation of the game, but like you can definitely jump it with this.
I don't
in a
think
couple of
what you're
different ways.
saying is different than what I'm saying, but
I can.
I don't-
What I'm saying is I'll forgive the cursor thing.
Yeah.
I'll even forgive to a lesser extent how tough it is to quit this game.
but can we agree that it's not a good PC port? It's only good compared to the port.
It's
of
a
Dark
damn
Souls?
good PC port. And I say that because of what we got out of this game compared to what our console cousins got out of it, which is
That's a
higher
good
res
point.
textures,
Yeah.
locked 60 frames per second
They're
frame rate,
higher res.
definitely higher res.
Yeah.
And you can't.
It's not the greatest looking game.
I'm playing at 1440p. Right, I'm getting. I
It's
can't
not bound
make-
by flame.
I can't get this game to drop below 60 frames per second, which
Yeah.
you can't say the same thing for the PS3.
But I
version.
mean, it's not a visually impressive game in this day
in
and
some,
age.
in some scenarios it is. This is the weirdness of Dark Souls, right? Is that you get into an area like Shaded Woods and it's ugly as balls. Like it's just like those forest textures are horrible. But
Yeah.
you get into some areas of the game where like you take a screenshot of it. And we
Oh,
have
yeah,
some
yeah.
screenshots at 4K at PC Gamer.
Particularly when they have the background stuff going off in the distance and
Yeah.
the mountains and
Some-
fogs and things flying
sometimes
around.
Dark Souls 2 is gorgeous except when it isn't. And that's one of many conundrums with the game.
I know that Dark Souls 1, you downloaded a patch or a mod, and that would help you out. And then Dark Souls 2, also day one, you download a mod, and that'll help you out. So
well, it won't help you out. It'll just make the game look a lot better.
Yeah.
But you can play this. You do not need a mod to play Dark Souls 2 at all.
No.
You can play the multiplayer just fine. You're not tied to Games for Windows Live.
But if you want, I just think I don't know. I feel like it doesn't matter. I don't think this is a great, like, looking or well.
Let me
that's a fair-
interrupt.
that's a fair complaint.
Let me interrupt real quick because I, as somebody who does not always have the easiest time getting games to run well on my PC for whatever reason, sorry, Corey, we've talked about this on the show a few times before, but sometimes
last time I was on, you were having a problem with Bully.
Well, that's specific to
That's
that
Rockstar.
game. That was specific to that
Not a
game.
great
That's not normal for my.
You have
for
weird
my
issues too, like not
station.
normal.
Yeah, I have what should be a very I have a decent to good video card that should run most things like very decently. There's nothing as far as I can tell that's really holding the performance back other than these games just a lot of times don't want to run over 30 frames a second, especially if I'm trying to do it in 1080p rather than drop it down to 1600 by 900, which is frustrating sometimes, and other times it's totally fine and I don't mind. Sure. Dark Souls 2, though, is an example of I don't understand why this is the case, but have it up and running. I have to play it in 1600 by 900. It's running at about 30 to 35 frames a second, playable. But I'm like, I know this can be better.
The whole point of this play game is to play because this engine, more than a lot of others, is tied to its frame rate.
Yeah, so I know
things will feel actually slow, not just frame rate slow.
Exactly, and with the combat, I mean, frames matter. This is a game where frames matter.
I'm trying really hard to not troubleshoot here on the show.
No. But you don't have to because I fixed it.
Oh, good.
That's my point.
That's the twist.
This is the twist, is that I don't know if it was a result of this patch, of the Durante patch that was released for Dark Souls 2. I sure did.
Nice.
And
it solved your problem?
Well, I went into the INI settings and changed. I mean, we're talking about like one or two things that were suggested on the notes of the patch.
Yeah.
I booted it up and I didn't notice a difference, so I changed my video card settings to use application settings rather than the settings imposed specifically by the video card. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, it opened up like.
So it might have been more that change than
Yeah, you should fire up Bullet.
But I've done this.
Yeah, Bullet might work
but I've
now.
switched back and forth and done that with almost every other game I've installed, and for whatever reason, Dark Souls 2 now runs. It does not drop below 50, but is usually right at 60 frames a second in 1080p. That kick up to the higher resolution, I've never run it. A game has never run this well on my PC, let alone a new game.
So let's just all agree that it is a pretty good PC.
I would say that it qualifies.
Yeah,
as
I would
a
expect an
good-ass
Xbox game to
PC
run
port.
pretty good on my PC for sure. It better.
Okay.
It's not The Witcher 2 here.
Well, you know what?
Aside from talking about the status of the port, what about the game itself?
It's a good port. It runs real
What
good.
do you think of the game though?
What? The Dark Souls 2?
Yeah.
Don't waste your
Let's talk about the
souls
game.
on
It
useless
kind of was.
trinkets.
That's okay. Rowan Kaiser, everyone.
But yeah, Rowan, what's your impressions now that you've tutorialized yourself?
How many hours in?
How many times did you fall off the cliff?
0.5. You're in the tutorial. Okay.
Was that your first death?
No, my first death was I ran through it and I saw I can run straight into this building, or there's a little path off here, and the path took me straight to a giant who killed me.
Oh, yeah.
So the second
the
death was
first
running
ogre.
up the cliff.
Okay, yeah.
2 giants.
No, this is the first ogre you find before you even get to the 2 giants.
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
Oh, I missed that too.
I missed that and
I
found
wouldn't
it
say
by
you
accident
did-
later.
Yeah. Okay.
I went and took care of business.
Should I go back and take care of those guys?
Oh, yeah.
Did they have souls?
Take care of everybody.
Yeah, if you're a completionist. So you kill those 2 ogres.
Me, I'm not really.
So,
Not really.
go.
First off, do you see the coffin that's there on the beach, right?
What?
Where the two ogres are. In
Yeah.
the tutorial area. There's a coffin that they're guarding.
Oh, I didn't notice
You
that.
get into that coffin, and it changes your gender.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoa! That coffin will lop off my bits and pieces,
It's
It
like the
will.
only free thing. in
or
that game,
or
too.
add bits and pieces if
Yeah.
I started out without them.
Yeah.
That's
And if
kind
you
of
kill
awesome.
spoilers, if you kill those two ogres, and then you go back to the house where the three elderly ladies are,
Yes.
and they're kind of keeper, talk to the keeper, she'll give you a weapon.
Really? I don't think I did that.
The weapon
Dang.
is a ladle, and it's a
Yes.
joke weapon.
Yes.
So it's like, if you're a Street Fighter fan, it's like playing the game as Dan.
Can you get another ladle? Because I need two.
Oh, because you're a dual wielder?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to talk about this. But
You're
I
a
wanna,
dual
I want to go
ladler.
back to Rowan for a second, because like it sounds like you're not into this.
It's more that since I'm reviewing Bound by Flame, it's like I can't get into another third-person action fantasy RPG because there's one that I have to be playing.
Okay.
So,
Give it time.
But I the thing about Dark Souls and the bits of Demon Souls that I played, it's like it's the anti-blockbuster game. I think that's what makes it seem so special. And I feel like I get that specialness from like all the strategy games and stuff that I play.
Yeah, Dark Souls is
You-
is a Lars von Trier film.
You
Yeah.
already have your niche.
Yeah, I already have kind of the feeling that like games where I can fail, like Dark Souls is a game where you can fail.
Yeah.
Where you do fail.
Well, yes. And it's like it's built around this idea that you have to build this up and figure all these things out. It's not the game has you figure them out all along. It's not smooth, right?
So the Souls series is my Crusader Kings 2.
Yeah,
That's
you're down with that. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
Also, I think it's something that, because I tried Dark Souls, I played for 3 or 4 hours, and I sort of was like, oh, okay, I get it, it's hard, but I don't want to play a game that's this hard. But there's more to. I think you can choose whether you want to become a crazy Dark Souls person or not.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
if
I
you,
mean,
if you
there's
push far enough, I think you would also.
So what is
become a
it?
crazy
What is
person.
it about Dark Souls 2 that's grabbed you if you struggled with the first one? This is like
I think
really
we talked
well.
a little about this. I kind of pushed past the point where it was just about this losing souls mechanic and dying, because that's just part of the game.
Right.
It's, I think what the seemingly infinite amount of stuff in that game. Like, I can't talk to someone or read a forum or do anything without finding stuff I have not discovered already, even in places I've been to 100 times. So that level of discovery is really keeping me in there. And the feeling of beating a boss in that game is the best thing ever. It's better than love. It's better than money.
There is, it's the sense of accomplishment you get after when the pursuer kills you 20 times, and then you finally dodge enough times to get past all of his attacks, and you kill him that 21st time. This, like, my girlfriend can attest. Like, it's pretty fucking sad. I'll be like, yes,
Yeah.
yes!
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
do a dance. I'll dance a jig.
Yeah,
of-
this
of
is
a
a this
I
is
celebration.
texted my girlfriend. I didn't hit send. I got so far as writing the text, and I was like, "Dude, what are you doing, man?"
this is a game where
So
you
Jay texted me though.
yeah, I text Josh. I text Josh. I think I texted Josh when I beat the giant for the first time.
Yeah, that was the big one for me.
and
That was a turning point for me.
Josh texted me back. He's like, "Now you're a man." Now-
So
like,
Jay,
now-
I mean, you said you played a little bit of Demon Souls.
yes.
And then you're playing this.
Um,
And you're not as far as Josh is.
right.
So I mean, what is it that's pulling you into this? The reason I'm bringing this up is that there's been a lot of conversation about accessibility. in
Well,
this game.
well, it's not accessible, and on the last show where I had just started, and was sort of at where Rowan is now, just dicking around with the tutorial part. You reach a threshold where you can do it, and I equated it to going to the gym. I was like, Dark Souls is the going to the gym of video games, because if you've never done it before and you start out, it's awful. It's painful. It's not really going to be that fun the first time you do it, but the more you do it and the more time you put into it, it pays off so incrementally that you don't even realize it. And then all of a sudden, one day, you're a badass.
Yeah,
So
right.
I feel like there's a metaphor in the character creation because the character creation is so different from most games' character creation systems, but it actually feels like if I actually figure out what these things do, I can make a character who looks like what I want.
Yeah. And what's cool about the character creator is that it has a secret character creator built in, where if you really want to mess with each individual setting of each individual facial feature, you can, but you have to dig into the menus.
Yeah, but those, like, a lot of character creators have those kinds of things, but they're just like, you move your mouth up and down, and it's just ridiculous.
Right.
Whereas in the Dark Souls, when you move the things, like, it ends up not looking ridiculous. They seem like legitimate options.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you can figure out what all of those do, then you can have a character who looks like what you want, and then you never see their face because it's always from behind.
But that, like
I see my character's face all the time.
Well, Josh, what you were saying, I see my character's face all the time too. He looks like I said it last time, is
because I'm running away all the time.
He's my character is like the bastard child of the comedian Kumail Nanjiani and the singer of Four Non-Blondes, which was
yeah, definitely
confirmed. Which was confirmed on Twitter by him.
That's awesome.
He's like, I wish I could grow my hair like that.
One of the things about the game, I think, when you go into a game like Skyrim maybe, or whenever I go into a video game, I want to push on all the walls and find out where it ends, right? Figure out where the simulation ends. Like, what can I do in Skyrim? And after a couple hours, I'm like, okay, that's...
You want to push boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you want to break the game.
And in Dark, I want to get to the edge of Crackdown and go, okay, this is fake.
Yeah, this is a game that breaks you.
Right. Well,
in Soviet Russia, a game breaks you.
This game has that too.
That joke kills in 1985.
And I'm finding like, I didn't know I could do this. I didn't know I could do that. And I think because it's so hard, there's so many gates in that game. I can't as quickly get to the end of those boundaries. Like I can't get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is the feedback loop here. This is the gameplay loop. I got it. Because you can't just run around and touch everything because that stuff kills you. Right. So I have to sort of slowly go through that process.
Or you have to be really comfortable with dying.
Yeah. In Dark Souls 1...
That took me a long time to get used to because I'm not comfortable with dying.
In Dark Souls 1, I would lose a lot of... I only played for 2 or 3 hours, but I remember losing my souls and being like, F this. And in Dark Souls 2, that hasn't been happening to me as much. Not the dying, but the losing of the souls. Right. Because I feel like I love this hub. Like, I'm really into... Okay, I'm stressed out. My heart's beating. I'm going to go back to the hub. Go back to the hub, chill out.
Go back to the hub.
Chilling game. Yeah, walk around, get it together. I always go back there before I quit for some reason. Like every time.
It's part of that accessibility that I think a lot of people
I'm
are
safe
talking
there,
about. Yeah, and that's a different feeling than what you had in the first Dark Souls. It's a little bit like...
Oh, because you couldn't warp, right, in the first one?
Not until... at a certain point in Dark Souls, you can start warping between certain bonfires. And it's something they added late in the game, and there's debate about whether it was added late in the development cycle.
Of Dark Souls 2?
Of Dark Souls 1.
Oh, okay.
Is this idea of, at a certain point, after you killed a certain number of bosses, and you unlock a certain number of characters, like then you can start warping between key bonfires. Which is like it suddenly changes the game, and then the open world becomes more like, okay, well now I can get here, and it accelerates.
Fast travel.
But
it
Dark
accelerates
Souls 1,
the game.
it's all interconnected too, right?
Yes.
Like you're opening
Dark
shortcuts.
Souls 2 is not, which is one of my big criticisms of the game. Is that I feel like because you have this hub structure, which is a lot like Demon Souls, and you have these different spokes you're going down. Like there's some variance in like the order in which you're going down the spokes, and we talked a little bit about like how quickly you can get to the Lost Bastille, whether you want to go through killing the Pursuer or if you want to go through No Man's Wharf,
or if you even know to know that, which,
right? Which you don't.
How would you?
If we're getting really realistic about it, like you don't need to know. Like your experience is going to be your experience. But Dark Souls 1, its world ended up being really interconnected. You'd go down this one path, and well, first off, you'd get to the main game area, and you'd have a few different ways that you could go. And one was clearly the correct way, but a lot of reviewers and a lot of other game players would go the wrong way.
Right, you go
and
up
have a much
or
harder
down.
experience. Yeah. But then you'd start finding how you went down this one path, and suddenly it looped around to Firelink Shrine. And it kind of built the sense of like, here's this world that like you're suddenly going to have a lot of different ways to get around.
You know that that thing that was going around for a while where someone, I don't know what they poured something into an ant colony, and then were able to get rid of all the dirt, so you just saw this. I don't know if they poured like metal in there, like liquid metal or something.
I think it was mercury.
Something like that. So then they pulled it out, and you just see the ant colony and
You
not
just
the
kind of
dirt.
see the paths that they built.
Yeah. It kind of seems like that with Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Although in Dark Souls 2, in the little mini worlds, the spokes, you do still have those moments when you find you're going around, it's super hard, and then you find a door and you open it and you realize I'm at the beginning. Awesome.
Right.
Yes.
There are still shortcuts.
That's a good
That's
feeling.
really cool.
Yeah. Where things start leading back. It was in one of those moments, Josh, where I texted you and said, "This game rules because it's basically missed with combat."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
that kind of like the way it's a little bit detached in how it describes everything to you.
Yeah.
Is very missed.
How much do you guys use the internet? Because I keep my iPad next to me, and I think I'm trying to keep a good balance, but I do look stuff up. Like yesterday, I found a bonfire, and it was behind a locked door, and I was like, F this, where's this key? I need this key right now.
I haven't gotten quite that desperate, but I have definitely been looking up. There are some things, I'm trying to think of a good example, but there are definitely some things that I looked up. For instance, after I finally beat the Pursuer for the first time, which felt like much more like I beat a really hard real-time puzzle than I actually like fought a guy in a video game. I think sometimes this game just feels like a puzzle game to me more than anything else.
That's
Yeah, I
valid.
beat a boss. I was struggling with this boss over and over again until I realized there were these, what are they called, Bastillas?
Yeah, the Pursuer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, is that the Pursuer?
That's the Pursuer.
Oh, then I did beat the Pursuer. I'm sorry. That wasn't the one my friend helped me with.
Yeah, the Pursuer.
I just shot him.
The quote-unquote cheap way of killing the Pursuer is to manipulate him to get far enough away from you, but still in range of the Bastilla or how
Yeah, I don't know.
how you put it?
What?
Ballista,
Ballista, yes.
Ballista.
and
You
then
guys just reversed them.
hit him with it, which will do a gigantic.
It gets him
amount of
almost
damage.
down
Which
to
is
nothing.
also like the boss of Dragon Age Origins.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Except, so here's where I told you to call me on my hipster bullshit, because I didn't finish the game before it was out, but I played most of the game before it was out in public hands, which meant that there weren't any guides on the internet. I didn't have an early version of like the hardbound guide, which by the way is really good.
Sure.
It's just a nice game guide to have around.
Ooh, yeah.
And so
Whoa.
I didn't know.
Hey, where's my phone?
I didn't
Amazon?
I didn't realize that you could use, even though the game tries to teach you that you can use those to kill enemies. I didn't realize that for the Pursuer, and so I fought the Pursuer 20, 30 times.
It's mostly
and
about
died.
rolling.
It's dodging.
Yeah, you got to
It's-
dodge
it's-
right.
You dodge the way he's swinging his sword, and time it just right so you can get past the sword, and then you can triumph. That's the dumb way of doing it now. And like once the game came out and there were people to play with and the servers were on, then it was about summon people. They'll teach you how they figured it out. The three of you can then group up and fight the Pursuer.
See, sounds like the legit way to do it.
All right, this is how I do it, and or how I did it, and it felt totally legit to me because
This is how we do it.
because it felt like I uncovered a secret on accident. And sometimes that's one of the most fun moments in a game that you can have. So the Pursuer is coming at me, and instead of hitting, I'm rocking a sword and shield.
Right, sword and board.
Sword and board. And instead of using the block button, or the left bumper on my controller to block, I accidentally hit the left trigger.
You parried.
And I parry with my shield. And when you parry the Pursuer and you time it right, he gets stunned.
Yep.
And that is what gives you enough time to run around the little
So Jay,
ballista.
that's some advanced level
Yeah,
shit.
that's
right
some
But
next level.
I
right
have
there.
never-
parrying in Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 is
That's what I'm saying.
I've only done it on
skill.
accident.
I had never done it before. I had never even tried because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this for real. Like if I try to do it, it'll never be successful.
Yeah, that's like one of those things where a fighting game tutorial says like, here's how you do this, and you're like, well, I'm never gonna play this long enough to get to that.
Exactly that.
So I did this
6-button
on
combo.
accident and saw the pursuer fall back on his ass, and I was like, oh snap! I figured this guy out because I knew as soon as it gave me that. You know, it was that moment of King Hippo falling on his butt, and then you've got him owned after that. But before that, he's like feels invincible.
Impossible.
And see, no wiki would have told you to do that.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
know. All I
yeah.
know is that after I did it once on accident and saw that was the way to stun him, I was like, when I got around to the ballista the first time, it did not like he wasn't in front of it. I wasn't in the right. I didn't have him in the right position for that to work. But I knew next time that if I was able to successfully do the parry, so I practiced that parry until he was in the right spot, shot him, and then he takes one hit after that.
Yeah. So that pairing thing. So yesterday I was fighting some large creatures, and I accidentally struck him at the exact right time that his sword was raised, and he got stunned. And I did it again and again and again.
Right.
And I was like, cool. Next time I came back, I was like, oh, well, now I know how to beat these guys now. Can never do it again.
Didn't work.
No.
Which is also like a fighting game.
Yeah. Well,
I really want to be able to. I'm sorry, but I need to say this. I want to be able to customize the controls. I want to be able to switch the bumpers and the triggers.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So
that would be nice.
You need to learn how to play with mouse and keyboard.
No.
These guys don't do that.
Well, no,
I don't.
I
And I don't.
I'm
And
on my couch.
hey guys, I don't play with mouse and keyboard either for this game. So
I'm playing on my couch, so
I get that. I totally do.
Steam controller.
that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Can we? Has anyone here used the Steam controller?
No.
It's not good. It's not good.
Well, before we get off of the weird like specific moves and stuff that we have not figured out how to do again after doing them once. So this happened on opposite sides of the combat, I guess. Once where I did a move that I have never seen before, I've never been able to do it since, and I don't know how I did it. Another one is where the enemy pulled a move on me that I had never seen before, didn't know he could pull that bullshit, and I have not seen it since. The first one was I was fighting just a regular, Hollow Man, and somehow I think I got behind him and did some sort of 3-move attack with my sword where he like stabbed him 3 times.
You did a critical hit.
In a way that I've never seen that before.
If you backstab most enemies, not all, but most enemies, you'll do this attack. And
Yeah.
the attack is different based on the kind of weapon you have.
Okay.
I've done that backstab one.
The backstab is called a critical hit in Dark Souls, and certain weapons will do better. Like if you have a dagger equipped, it will do extreme damage as a backstab.
Okay.
But the backstab seems like it must be a really small window because I don't do it every time.
No, you have to. So you have to have a certain amount of stamina, and you have to be positioned just right, and they have to be positioned just right. The stars have to align. Your eyes have
Yes.
to meet.
Yes,
It's
it
lovely.
definitely feels like it has to be a blood moon out, and
It's a slightly advanced technique in this game.
So I don't feel like the internet use is spoiling this game for me at all because
No,
I feel like
I-
there's no end to it.
I kind of agree with that. Like where
you said last time, by any means necessary. This
You-
game is by any means
you can
necessary.
you can know exactly what you have to do in this game, and know the path that you need to follow. Doing it is a totally different story.
Yeah, you can watch a video and then
Yeah.
good luck because I've watched that one fight with the 3 whatevers.
The Ruin Sentinels.
Yeah, I've read every which way to do that at this point, and
I will say, like, I was really honored, I guess, to get to play this game when there was no information out.
yeah,
And it's a totally different experience. It's terrifying. It's freaking terrifying.
Oh.
You walk into every scenario just relying totally on yourself to figure out what to do.
yeah.
But I don't feel like looking up guides or looking up answers on a wiki ruins this game at all. I think if anything, it helps you figure out what else you can go and do. And
Yeah.
I really love the community aspect and how quickly the community could could pull together information on this game.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a cover my eyes technique too. It's
Yeah.
like I'll read and they go, oh wait, there's a whole nother. Okay,
Yeah.
close it, and then I go try
Yeah.
to figure it out. But I don't. Corey, let me ask you this, and I feel like because I chose dual wielding, that I chose
You started pretty advanced.
a more advanced. That's what I think too. And I think
Totally.
that better off for it because I only realized 2 days ago when I finally brought a shield into this boss fight with those 3 characters. I forget what they're called.
Ruined Sentinels.
The Ruined Sentinels. Oh, a shield blocks all the damage?
No, not
Not
necessarily.
all the damage.
It blocks all the damage.
It depends on the shield that you equipped, right?
My shield is 100% and it blocks all the damage.
That's important. And so all of that damage will instead come from your stamina bar,
Yeah.
which is a plus and a minus, right? On the one hand, you're not dead. On the other hand, you're not going to have enough stamina to do everything you want to do.
Right, but if you wait and if you're patient, you wait till it's full, you get your hit. Anyway, so it turns out that's why so many people start this game off as this heavy knight and stuff, and they're just getting hit. Like the way I'm playing, I can't get hit. Like really.
Nope, you need to dodge.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. Don't make this mistake because when I finally got into the mansion in Majula,
Yeah.
where you get the key from the dude who is like hiding in the tunnel somewhere. It's kind of a weird spot. I don't think I've been back there because it was hard to navigate to.
The mansion? Oh no, where you got the key.
Where you get the key. Not that there's any reason to go back there, but once you get in the mansion, there's a skeleton you have to fight.
Oh yeah.
And I had a sword and shield rolling up to that dude.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hold up my shield and block. And do you know what that fool did? He did this move where he swiped at me. It spun me around backwards. He grabbed me around the neck.
What?
And then ran his sword through my back and killed me instantly.
Oh, that's why I kept seeing all these dead people there.
Instantly.
Because I didn't have a problem with
That's
that
a really
guy at all.
hard fight at the beginning.
Like, that
Oh, it
was
is?
nuts. I in one hit, because I was holding up my shield, it was like he may as well have laughed at me while he was doing it.
yeah.
Ridiculous.
I can't wait
So
to
you're
play.
guaranteed when he dies to get a human FG though, which is
Yes.
really nice in the early game, and there are
Yeah.
a couple of really sweet items.
He's in the basement where there's the map.
Yeah. You
Yep.
go, so where the map
Exactly.
is,
Yeah.
and then the cartographer is telling you, I wouldn't go down that hole. Like you go down there and there's a skeleton.
Oh, I couldn't find a hole. Oh, maybe I didn't do this.
It's off to you're facing the map. It's off to the right.
Oh no, I did do that. Yeah.
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 I'm sure you did.
Human. Oh, the humanity. This
get
game
that.
has such an ebb and flow of I'm in a good spot. I got all these human effigies. Everything's cool, and just despair. Like,
Right.
Oh, I should ask. I wanted to ask. Oh God, I forget what I wanted to ask you, Jay.
You again?
Oh well, move on until I remember.
I know only of smithing.
Do you think you guys are gonna stick with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
I've gotten to the point where we're past the point of no return.
Yeah, I
with
would have
this-
given up by
I'm
now.
past the point of no return with this game. If I was going to put it down and not play it, I would have done so
How
12
much-
hours ago.
How much multiplayer have you guys done?
None. Zero.
But I don't know how to say.
That's really interesting to me. That you're kind of self-selecting.
I
not doing
always
any co-op.
I am the guy who plays massively multiplayer role-playing games. Trying to solo as
Me
much
too.
of it as I can without having to deal with any fucking idiots
Jay,
outside of
I don't think
myself
I did
in the game.
These guys don't do multiplayer pretty much ever.
ever. But I did, and I think it's probably because it sounds like I'm online more than you, Jay, and I just wanted to know what the hell these things were in my inventory, and they said you put them down.
the
and-
soapstones.
Yeah, and people show up and help you. So.
Oh yeah, I have some
Or
of those.
well, actually, you put the soapstones down, and people summon you into there.
Oh, that's right. So first I did the one where they're on the ground. You can summon people in. You have to have humanity to do it, or you have to be human to do it.
No.
No, the one where people come into my world and help me.
In order for you to summon people into your world and have them help you progress in your world, you have to be human.
Yes.
But a really great way of farming souls.
Oh,
and,
right.
And also a really great way of,
Right.
of trying to figure out a strategy for something that you're stuck with is to put down your own summon sign.
So I've done
And
that
if you
too.
do that as a hollow, like if you put down the large soapstone and you succeed, you'll come back and you'll be human.
What about the small one?
I think they've changed this in a patch because I think it was initially broken. I think you come back with partial humanity.
Oh.
So you know how when you
Why
die,
would you not use the big one every time then?
because you also get different items.
Oh.
The large soapstone gets you a token of fealty, which is useful for a specific Covenant.
Oh, I've never done any of that. Oh,
And
the Covenant stuff also.
Yeah, the Covenant stuff is pretty advanced too. And then the small soapstone gets you items that you can trade. Do you remember that first bird's nest you find in the
Yeah, I've
tutorial?
done that. I've done that to get. I've traded there.
Yeah. So you get more of those items, and depending on the item that you can get higher tier items from the two birds.
Yeah, I've done that.
But what's really cool about that, first off, I'm massively in love with the messaging system in Dark Souls.
Oh, it's so rad.
Because it's interesting because you talk to people who played a lot of Demon Souls way back in the day, and I'm curious if Jay feels the same way about this. And like people would straight up lie to you and say, "Oh yeah, jump off this platform and there'll be treasure," right? And then you jump and then you die, and
This
somewhere
has
the
that.
internet's laughing. Dark Souls 2 has a lot less of that, I think.
Oh, okay.
It has a much more active community of people like trying to warn you or trying to tell you when here's a secret item.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Except the most trolling stuff is the people trying to get you to think there's a fake door somewhere.
right.
Yeah.
They illusion very well.
Yeah,
Press
when I was going through some stuff, there were messages that were like, "Next message is a lie," and the next message was like, "Secret door,"
Yeah.
jump down for
And
treasure.
then some
So
of those,
there was a lot of that.
Specifically in the area that you were in, some of those messages are from the developers of the game, and some of them are from players.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
tutorial.
And you don't know which is which.
Yeah.
There's an area way late in the game where you're dealing. There's an NPC, like a sorcerer, who is imprisoned, and if you release him, he'll actually attack you later on. So you get to an area where you can release him, and there's a whole bunch of messages on the ground, like just scattered all over the ground that say, "Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this." And of course, I didn't pay attention to them, and I did it.
Yeah.
And then he shows up like 3 different points in the game and just murders me.
You just summed up this game. This game is don't touch the stove.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's this
Yep.
game. And you're like, oh, I lost all my souls. So touch the stove.
I don't remember these kinds of conversations with Demon Souls. Like I played probably even a little more, and I didn't see like the people like interacting with one another in the same way.
I think it has something to do with scale and marketing, to be honest.
I think it's also typing, like on the PC you can.
Well, you can't type on the messages for Dark Souls 2 either. You have a selection of words.
Yeah, you
Oh,
and
okay.
you can tell it's very obvious
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you'll read things like praise the sun, but a hole, and you're like, that sounds like weird broken
trying
English.
to say butthole.
Yeah, did you see all the dirty ones that surround the chick that levels you up? Like there's constantly like
the Emerald
3 or
lady's
4.
always got things that like something right in front of her. It says like chest to head. It's like,
Yeah.
come on. I know you mean boobs. Yeah, right.
Terrible.
One of the things that I like kind of about Bound by Flame is that you get a character who's wearing like a female boob armor thing, and everyone makes fun of her for it.
That's awesome.
That's
Like,
kind of cool.
So someone's like, they're like, there's this woman who's like trying to find out if her like cursed husband is like having an affair, and she's like, I doubt he's going to find some like gorgeous slut out in the forest, and your character's like, I think you'd be surprised, and the NPC with the weird boob armor is like, I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult.
So yeah, I think
nice.
as far as Dark Souls 2 goes, like it's encouraging to see you guys into it, right?
Well,
I've had a lot of conversations with people.
I didn't expect it.
I've had a lot. I mean, we just talked on the Gamers with Jobs conference call about the accessibility of the game and how that relates to the difficulty. And then we got into a big argument about how like I think this is still a hard game.
yeah.
I don't think this is Dark Souls for babies, but some people do.
But are they Dark Souls? Were they already crazy people?
They were already pretty deep into Dark Souls.
Uh-huh.
So was I though.
Yeah.
And so I guess I get caught up in this idea of like the things that they changed, and lots of Dark Souls fans were worried about this. The things they changed made the game more accessible, made things a little more convenient, but I don't feel like made things easier.
Well,
Like,
doesn't it make
gonna
stuff
die.
harder?
But
Your health didn't use the cap.
There have been,
and
as
the-
of this morning, 51 million deaths in Dark Souls 2 on the PC.
But they, yeah,
Yeah, I saw that on
don't
that
they-
stat
The
sheet.
health thing wasn't in the first one, right? Where that caps your health at half.
No, that was not in the game. Like,
So it makes it
if
harder
you
in
died,
some
you
ways.
became hollow, and your health stayed the same.
Yep.
Every time you die in Dark Souls 2, you start losing your health, and I think that's a response to the fact that a lot of people play Dark Souls without ever being human.
I did. I didn't even. I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
that stuff when I played that.
All you get when you're human in Dark Souls is like if you bank up a lot of humanity, you'll find more items, and you can summon people. So in order to counteract that, they wanted to say, well, you should try to be human, and here's why. Because if you don't, your health's going to suck. I think that's a smart, brave move.
Yeah.
And that's not something that makes it easier.
No, but eventually
that
you get
makes
stuff
it
that
harder,
helps.
right?
Yeah, it
No,
makes it
Exactly.
harder.
So like the people who then go, oh, this is Dark Souls for babies. Like, I don't get what there's. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you've spent a lot of time playing this series and you've built up a level of mastery, there are going to be things that you're immediately prepared for. Like there are going to be areas where like you're going to know that you're about to be ambushed because of the way the game sets it
when
up.
I go back to Dark Souls, which I want to do after this,
Yeah.
I will be in the same boat. You know, I will have.
It's going to be interesting, I
Yeah.
think. I early on as I was playing Dark Souls 2, I went back and compared it to Dark Souls 1, and I think the user interface alone makes a huge difference.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between difficulty and accessibility.
Exactly. This is what I was trying to
But
say.
I think that Dark Soul, the whole Souls series, is kind of based around blurring those lines as much as it can.
Yeah.
And
so.
it's
So it would make sense that a bunch of fanboys would be tricked by the fact that it's not actually
right. It would make
more
sense if
difficult,
they're
it's
like
just more
trying to
accessible.
unblur those lines. Then I can see why people would be a little unhappy about that because.
But they blur so many lines in this game. Can't some of them? Can't they throw us a bone at some point?
It's such a mean game. I mean,
Yeah.
that it does anything nice.
It doesn't
at all.
tell you what leveling up your stuff even does.
wait, no. This one does. Compared to Dark Souls,
What about agility?
what about agility?
It doesn't tell you what that does.
What the fuck is poise?
Poise is if you hit select and you skip over to poise. Poise is the amount of throwback that you're going to get after someone hits you and breaks up all of your endurance.
Right,
So how stunned will you become?
Okay.
I have a
So
ring.
poise is how
if,
stunning
if
you
you
are.
are doing if you do a lot of heavy on heavy battle or like a lot of PvP, you want high poise because it means you're going to be fairly unshakable.
Okay.
I have a ring that I wear all the time that reduces enemy poise.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty
that
smart.
when
It
I
means
hit them,
it's going to be a little easier for you to break through their shield, for example.
Yeah. I remember what I wanted to ask you, Jay.
What's
So, do you do what I typically do, which is get to a new area and mow through a few enemies and then bonfire and then do it over and over and over and over again until those enemies are gone, so that you can walk to the next point
Farm.
without farm souls, if you will?
or grind? It's
Grind,
As it's also
That's
pretty good
called.
too, yeah.
But it's for a point. I mean, because then you
Here's-
can walk to the boss without having to fight the guys again.
It totally depends. I go in. I say that there are three modes of sort of going out into the shit for me in Dark Souls. One mode is the initial exploration, dipping your toe in the water. What the fuck is going to kill me around the corner here? And just trying to make it as far as you can so that you know what's coming up without carrying too many souls on you. Because
That's the thing.
Because you don't want to get so far that you will lose your souls and you won't be able to get back there to retrieve them.
That first one, I call that the I'm gonna lose 10,000
Yes.
souls.
Yes. So that's the initial I'm gonna get fucked up
Yeah.
stage.
You guys got to hit a point where like 10,000 souls is nothing.
That sounds
that.
like unbelievable at
That's
this
like
point. but
I just realized I'm not very far in this game, and I thought
Yeah.
I was close to the end of this game.
You're about a third of the way through.
Yeah.
it sounds like.
So who cares if there's no by any means necessary is my point.
Right. So
by
my
any means necessary.
So my second mode is getting familiar enough that I can make my way to the relative endpoint or some endpoint, whether it's here's a room with a bunch of guys and then there's a secret there. It's obvious there's a secret
Yeah.
if I beat these guys, or to a boss.
So that's the part where you're like, okay, I got to kill this guy on the right, and this guy jumps out, and then I kill him, and then
kill
another
him,
thing.
and then you've got it laid out. Here's the boss, and then I assess, can I beat this boss at this point in time? And if the answer is no, then I grind and I go back to the bonfire and I go through and kill all the guys until I'm able to level up a couple times or get a human effigy and then fight the boss.
Are you using any of the soul items that you pick up, like soul of a brave warrior?
Yeah, all of them, except not the boss ones.
You mean the ones that give you extra souls to
Right.
level up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are you using them to buy any items or upgrade your items?
Yes,
No.
both.
So this could be really crucial for you, Josh.
Wait, I'm upgrading my items, but that's with money.
Okay, so you are upgrading them. So
Yeah.
you're using those items,
My two-
getting more souls, and then buying like Titanite shards if you can.
Don't waste your souls on
Yeah.
useless trinkets.
Thank you, Blacksmith Leningrass. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Again?
Curved swords, level 4 each, and then bow level 4. Plus 4.
I cannot believe you went swordsman. That's so fucking awesome.
It's rad. But I don't know until I saw
That's-
that shield. I was like,
But
wait
that's
a
what
minute.
I.
So what?
But that's
So
what
what
I
you
did
need? What
too.
you need? What? How? Okay. Here's a better question. What soul level are you guys?
I
I
am.
don't know.
I think 42.
Oh, is that just your level?
Yeah.
Oh, 80.
It's different from your soul memory.
I think I want to say 80. But
Yeah.
I'm not
So
sure.
for where you're at, you're pretty high, actually.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I farm the soul.
But that's good. I mean, you should never feel bad about cheesing Dark Souls. Like, cheese your way through it. As much
that's
as
the
possible.
by any means necessary.
Yeah.
But with the upgrading, it's one of those things where everything is so rare in this game that I'm like, well, these are my weapons now. You know.
No, you should feel free. Pick a weapon that you really dig and start upgrading it.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's what I did when
I've had the same weapons almost the whole game. So.
Relatively early on for me, I decided that I was going to make it my mission to take out the sleeping knight who's sleeping under the tree.
Yeah.
Who you do
Knight, yes.
you do not have to mess with him.
No.
Like you can leave
You get a
him
really
there. You
awesome
find-
sword from him. Though.
Yeah.
That's the sword that I've been using, and I upgraded it twice.
Isn't
so
that a
far.
great sword?
No, it's a
No.
normal sword.
It's called.
It's a straight sword.
It's called It's called like a Heidi.
Oh,
Heidi-
right.
a
High
Heidi-
knight sword.
Yeah,
and
I
it
know
has
that sword.
a little bit of lightning damage. That
Yeah,
does
it
too.
does. Well, that's the
Yeah, I
thing is
can't use
that,
that.
if you compare it to
Did you
another
get-
sword, it looks like not quite as good. But then if you take the lightning damage into account, it's way better than anything.
Did you get the fire longsword?
No, where's that?
That's not that far from where you're at.
The
Or-
fire longsword?
Yeah.
I saw Brad Galloway talking about that.
I'm not sure if I got it or not, but I know that both my swords have to be the same type in order to do my thing.
What makes you say that?
Because
Are you
Brad
doing power
Galloway told
stance?
me, yeah.
So they don't have to be the same type.
But they do to do a power stance.
No.
If I hold Y and they're not the same type, he just grabs one.
You need to have double the required
Yeah.
level of
Yes.
strength or dexterity
Yeah.
in order to go into that area into that mode.
Yeah.
But like you can have a straight sword and a dagger.
That's not what. Really?
Yep.
They don't have to be both curved swords.
Nope.
Oh fuck.
I mean, you don't even you don't even start.
Tell
with two
Brad
curved
Galloway to
swords.
leave a different message on the.
You started with a scimitar and like a longsword.
No, I
Yeah.
picked up two pretty good curved
Yeah,
swords.
but your character, when your character starts, doesn't even have two the same.
Yeah,
type.
but I couldn't do. I knew about the double attributes thing or whatever.
Yeah,
But are you positive about that?
I am 102% sure.
See, this fire sword thing bugs me because my biggest fear is like missing stuff.
I'll Google it right now if you want.
No, I'll try it.
I have not done a lot of dual wielding.
I love it.
Actually, my main character is largely like a greatsword type person, and then I'm desperately in love with magic builds in Dark Souls 2.
That's some next level
And
shit,
so-
right?
So I
Magic
haven't-
builds
but
for me is like got to be a second playthrough.
Yeah.
I do have a swordsman character, and I've played around a little bit with it, and I've definitely done the power stance with a dagger, and it changes how you attack for sure.
Then I have to try that.
Brad
Brad Galloway told me they had to both be the same.
Well, there's been
Brad
I mean, that's,
Galloway.
By the way, half
this
the
game
messages
obfuscates
that
so
pop
much.
up in the game were written by Brad Galloway.
Don't believe his
magic,
lies.
Magic is for real though. I mean, you're already like dodging so much that there's no reason why you shouldn't consider adding a little bit of magic as well, especially if you've been through No Man's War.
Can you? Yeah, I don't know because
So-
I figure I have my thing and I should stick.
So
with
what's
my thing.
great about magic? There are
My doctor said I could be a dual wield.
there are 4 different types of magic in the game, right? There's sorcery, which is based on your intelligence.
Oh wait, real quick! I accidentally killed an NPC on a boat that kills you, that sells you that stuff.
Outstanding. So
Oh,
when you go
man.
back and talk to the NPC, this is another area where the game is a little bit more forgiving than Dark Souls. If you killed an NPC in Dark Souls, they were gone. In Dark Souls 2, you'll now find a gravestone, and if you spend a certain number of souls, then you can
no
talk to
way.
their spirit.
Oh, cool!
That's cool.
Yeah.
It was an accident. I just saw a dude in a boat, and
So like a
just
lot of
started
people,
firing.
this specifically happened to me when I was testing the mouse and keyboard support. I accidentally, because I couldn't figure out how to talk to the Emerald Lady, the person who levels you up, I killed her.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I've read about people doing this.
A lot of people have actually just not even realized that she's in Majula and like never got an Estus flask and got like halfway through the game.
Me.
Oh my god.
Not halfway through the game, but I told you guys last week, I got pretty far and was like, when is it? I assume I'll level up at some point? Like, I didn't know.
But
and then you can't even talk to her once. You have to talk to her a bunch of times.
You have to exhaust all of her dialogue.
That's like everybody in this game, though, because the
but
guy...
you do it, though, now,
because the
don't
guy
you?
who gives you the mansion key,
Yeah.
I talked to him once, passed him, went back, talked to him again. I was like, he said something else. Maybe I should talk to him again. And then I talked to him 2 or 3 more times, and then he gives you the key.
I do that now with everybody. Merchants, everybody. I just talk.
All the dialogue.
All I'm saying is that I honestly don't think I would have stuck to this game for as long as I have if I wasn't such an adventure game fan. Like, there are certain adventure game aspects to this that the average player I could see being like, well, fuck that. That's just... I don't have time for this.
What do you mean you didn't give me all the information in one go? Whereas like an adventure player would like click on it because they expect to hear something funny.
Yeah,
Right.
Agility.
What can you tell me about the Dark Souls murders?
Agility is key.
So
for
the
my builds.
the worst part about Dark Souls is when you get the fucking rubber duck. That's the word.
Well, there's a ladle.
There is a ladle.
I've been using a ladle in Fire Emblem. It's a good way to build someone's axe skill.
So I was going to say that the agility is super key to my build because it adds frames to your roll and allows you to roll into a hit without getting hit. So even if it makes direct contact, it'll miss.
I noticed that I just started getting to the point where my rolls do not take damage if they're done a certain way. And it was... a little bit earlier when we were on break, we talked about getting to the Bastille, which I had just entered. Yeah. Which is an area a little bit farther out in the game, but you can get there 2 ways.
You're almost caught up to me.
Well, I got there from going through the tower, fighting I fought the giant, and then immediately after fighting the giant, you get the key and you can fight the pursuer. So I went that route. Climbed the tower, fought the pursuer, figured out how to beat him. The eagle flew me over to the Bastille, lit the bonfire. I have literally went back to Majula, and I've been doing other shit around there. I've not
real fast, go back to that bonfire that you got to, and go into the room that's off to your left, because there's a key that you can get in there, which is super helpful for the rest of Lost Bastille.
Nice. Is that where the blacksmith guy is, or there's a guy in there?
No, that's farther on. And you can unlock that blacksmith whose name escapes me, the crazy blacksmith.
Yeah, I can't do that yet, I don't think.
You probably can.
Don't you need some flamey
thing? There's one of those big staff dudes up there, and he's sitting in front of a barrel. You need to get him to kick the barrel down the stairs to hit that wall.
See, now Rowan, doesn't this sound like an adventure game? I mean, this is an adventure
I did that,
game
but once you...
He's got to kick it down so that it explodes the wall. That should show the bonfire.
What this sounds like
that was my
is
first
like,
bonfire. Oh, I guess it was my second bonfire there.
What this sounds like is like a late 80s game. It could be like any genre, but probably an RPG where...
Grade school. Playground.
Right. Where partially that, but it's partially the idea that the developers just threw a whole bunch of shit in there and paid no real attention to how it all like fit together.
Yeah,
no,
that's the ironic part. Is that everything fits together.
Yeah,
right,
that is the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that makes the games feel so special to people is that it has that sort of feeling of discovering an exploit, except it's not an exploit at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of intentional.
It's discovering the
game
world.
is so. I mean, it's so constraining, and it just, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it just puts such a burden on the player all the time that just finding out stuff that is normal, good stuff to help your character do better feels like a cheat, because you have to work for everything. I mean, it's a game of inches, right?
You have to earn the game.
Like one of the problems with modern game design, and this is... problem might be the wrong word, issue might be a better one, is they want to have balance. Mm-hmm. They want to have everything feel like it fits. And I think that Dark Souls doesn't feel like everything fits. Dark Souls feels like things fit in totally different ways, and you have to figure out totally different ways to deal with those.
There's not.
I would
There's,
say-
there's
Why
no.
don't you play some
I
Dark
would say
Souls?
that
I
the
would
thing
go so far as
about-
to say there's no hand holding. Like the thing I always think of in terms of modern game design is Fable 2 and its breadcrumb trail. Right?
Yeah.
Like Molyneux's team wanted you to see every cool, clever thing that it put into the game, and so it leads you by hand to
Right.
those
Oh,
areas.
that's a really.
and that's not bad. I'm not criticizing that. It's just a style of game.
See,
No,
we
Dark
talked
Souls
about
2
that breadcrumb thing before in here, and for me, it had the opposite effect. It allowed me to explore because I knew I wouldn't get lost, because I knew I could always go back.
but
to
Right.
it.
but from
Dark Souls 2 wants you to get lost.
But from a
Yeah.
a developer standpoint,
Yeah,
this is
definitely.
really interesting because for me, I can totally see Peter Molyneux being the kind of guy
He would
who's,
ruin Dark
who's like,
Souls.
"Hey, everybody, look at every specific
Yes.
cool thing
Yes.
that I put in this game."
Yes.
And Dark Souls, the developers are like, "Let's see if they can figure out every
Right.
cool
Yes.
thing that
like
we
those
put
Fable
in this
games would
game."
be. Like those Fable games would be so much better if he kept his mouth shut, because he says, "You know what you can do, and you know what else you can do, and you know what else you
in
can
a
do."
lot of ways, there's not a ton of ego in a Dark Souls game.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
We should take a quick break.
Sure. No.
Welcome back, everybody.
I hope that was on the
Nope, it wasn't. But for the record,
Can't you see
Seaman
that
Cloud.
I'm busy?
Oh, good.
Don't waste
Seaman
my
You're just trying to
time.
get on the
cloud.
the soundboard now.
The soundboard is still like, I have a plurality there. It's not the preferred nomenclature.
do you guys read a Game Informer ever these days?
I haven't ever since my GameStop Power Up
Right.
Rewards membership expired.
Number one,
Good
yeah,
for
yeah,
work.
number one gaming magazine that we give everyone for free.
It works.
Yeah, I know, but
They're still in business.
I read the last issue, and in the preview section, they had a preview for the Lord British game, and it was just like a giant
Shroud of the Avatar?
Lord British quote about the game.
Yeah.
Like that was the preview, and I think we said it before, but has that guy not played a role playing game in like 20 years?
Can I
He's
tell you
like,
something? I kickstarted that game.
me too.
Yeah, me too.
Have you played it?
I actually didn't. and
As
I'm
much as you can
supposed-
play it,
it's-
sure.
Fucking garbage.
Well, there's nothing there yet.
No.
So they're like beta 6. You can log in and run around and maybe put a piece of clothing on.
But this guy, he's
There's your
talking
fucking
about
game.
You can equip a Padawan braid in this build.
Yeah, right.
It's
You
Lord
can go into
British,
fucking
man.
space.
See,
He
this
acts
is what
like
happens.
Skyrim and Oblivion and all the Elder Scrolls like never happened. The way he talks about RPGs,
You get to go up into space and suddenly you think you can make any video game you want. And it's gonna be it'll be 3
No,
years
he's
before you
always
get something
thought that.
decent out of that.
yeah. Anyway,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what I wrote about. Like I looked at his Kickstarter and he was talking shit about role playing games as if he hadn't played anything since 1994. Like
Yeah.
if the only game he had played was Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Like he was like, all role playing games these days are just about grinding levels, and I'm like, what the fuck? Role playing games are about grinding levels.
So to play devil's advocate though, like he's doing exactly the same sort of thing that like From Software is doing with Dark Souls, where they're making a game for a specific audience and they don't give a shit who else doesn't like it.
but
Now the problem with
I mean-
that is that Shroud of the Avatar is for 3 people, and that's it.
but, I
And
mean,
it's
look-
the 3 of us right here,
Yeah,
and we all
yeah.
regret it.
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
no, I mean, look at my Twitter avatar. Like, I am the Guardian from Ultima. This is a game that theoretically should be made for me. This is a guy whose history is one that I respect. Know that Britannia has entered a new age of enlightenment.
Are you
Pooping
sure you
game.
want to steal those cookies? Are you sure?
Pooping game.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
I understand like where he's coming from, but he's not coming from it in context.
No.
It's like when your grandpa decides to make a movie.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm totally gonna have like music and sound,
Yeah,
and
yes.
visuals.
That's what he sounded like.
It's-
That's
it's
exactly
like,
what he
it's like
sounded
when Black Francis decides to revive the Pixies. That's
Oh, see, now you're just hurting Jay.
that new album is no good. Sorry.
But the funniest thing to me was that the preview was just quotes from Lord British.
Yeah, well, that's all they have, right?
No, I ran around in there, and then in his thing, he says, "You're going to be able to talk to people, but you're going to be able to type in whatever you want." And the NPCs
this is probably a little close to home, but can you imagine what it's like to write a preview about Star Citizen right now?
Yeah, right. Just hang out in your space
Right?
garage. But
That's it.
but Lord British's awesome, dude, dialogue system where you can type whatever you want and the AI understands. Yeah, I remember Ultima. Job? Name? Job?
Health?
You could type in whatever you wanted as long as it had the word job or name in it.
So
I mean, I know how those keyword
It's
systems
pronounced
work. Like,
Job.
I worked with one of those
It's
keyword
biblical.
systems. Like I was in one of those mods that was like trying to recreate Ultima 6. Like I've programmed in that sort of thing, and you know it's a keyword system. Like this is not a major thing. It's different from how things work now.
No, this one's gonna use Siri. Don't worry.
Okay.
It'll be-
Are we done with Dark Souls?
We're
We're
never
never
done
done.
with Dark. Is Dark Souls done with us?
I think Rowan, you said you want to tell a story about some sort of Marvel
Heroes.
one of the 3 Marvel games you're playing. One of which
Marvel Euros.
It's not actually a game.
one of which
Marvel Euros. Would
Marvel
be really good.
Euros.
No, one of which is the one you and Brad Galloway
Yeah.
just crazy talk on Twitter like 24 hours a day, and I played it, and it was a match 3 game, so I have no idea what.
Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Yeah, like what are you guys doing? Like what are you doing in that game? It's just a puzzle game, right?
We're doing raids.
What the fuck?
God, I wish I was freelance.
Do you have benefits?
Yeah.
Then no, you don't.
Okay. So,
Medi-Cal is still processing my shit from
but
3
man,
months ago.
Marvel Puzzle Quest
That Marvel Puzzle Quest it's an investment.
of your time and your soul.
I think Dark Souls is more soul.
I don't know.
Don't
But
waste your
have you
souls
been
on
playing Marvel
useless
Heroes
trinkets.
then?
Yeah, I was playing. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Josh wanted to talk about Marvel Puzzle Quest because he apparently just played it and was like, "What the hell are these guys talking
I
about?"
don't understand how you can talk about that game that much because
You're not alone, dude.
So anyways, you want to talk about Marvel Heroes.
Yeah, well, it's not really Marvel Heroes.
Pre-order it now.
Yeah, so I talked at some podcast in the recent past about Marvel Unlimited, which was just the database of the comic books that I could read on my phone. Mm-hmm. And
Well, how much would you pay?
Yeah. We've been through this. I'm down $10 at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I've got a credit card.
Thanks.
So I was doing that, and I read the Young Avengers, and they have this character named Kate Bishop, who's really cool. I was tweeting about how emoji heart about how cool she was, and someone responds and says, "Hey, did you know that in Marvel Heroes you can get a Kate Bishop costume?" So Marvel Heroes is a free-to-play action RPG kind of thing by some of the people who did Diablo 2, and it's just
Some Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Diablo clone.
yeah, it's kind of like those, only it's like massively multiplayer, but not massively multiplayer, but you can get like 20, 30 people on the same screen.
It's minimally multiplayer.
It's
Moderately
mediumly.
multiplayer.
Moderately
Yeah, there we
multiplayer.
That better be a soundboard.
I like moderately multiplayer. Yeah.
But yeah, it's more than just like the 4 characters of the Diablo or Ultimate Alliance, and it's kind of cool. Like it's whatever. It's you click a button, stuff blows up. That's fine. It's not like as deep as Diablo or Torchlight.
How much is it like Marvel Ultimate Alliance? Because I like those games a whole
Marvel
lot.
Ultimate Alliance is really good.
Yeah, I like
would
both
say
of
it's
those
like
games.
75% like that.
It's not. It doesn't have quite the combo system of.
Yeah,
Ultimate
it doesn't have
Alliance,
the
does it?
combo system, doesn't have kind of the clarity of having like 4 people on screen all the time. It's like you can do it by yourself, you can do it with 20 other people, you can do it with 3 other people.
Okay.
But it does have sort of the same feel of there are all these different heroes and they have all these different costumes, and so there is a bit of that.
One downside of Marvel Heroes is that you're picking up a lot of loot that doesn't really change how you look.
Ooh.
So like it's like
Yeah, it
different versions of the Spider-Man
Nice.
outfit that don't change anything at
Yeah.
all except for your actual stats.
It doesn't have a paper doll system, and
Blah.
most of the outfits that you can get, you have to buy. Like it says that some enemies will drop them, and I got one, but there are 37 characters, so I got a Squirrel Girl outfit, and I don't have Squirrel Girl, so what am I going to do with the Squirrel Girl outfit?
Oh no! So you need the Diablo auction house.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because that worked out so well
Yeah.
for Blizzard. Yeah.
So anyway, that when I started again, or anyway, I was saying I like this Kate Bishop person, and someone on Twitter said, well, if you can get a costume for Hawkeye, because she becomes the new Hawkeye at some point, you can get a costume for Hawkeye that's the Kate Bishop Hawkeye. And I was like, I want that, so I'll try this again, because I kind of liked it when I played it, but I didn't want to invest in it. But I had some time, so I decided to invest a little in it. So I was doing that again, and they were having like a buy one get one free sale with their characters. So you could buy like the minimum characters for as cheap as you could, and you'd get a random character who was totally random. So you could get like one of the more expensive characters.
If you're really lucky, you get like the $40 Wolverine.
Yeah, something like that.
There's a $40 Wolverine.
I think it's a costume.
There's the episode title.
Wow.
There
Bolton
are
Manson.
characters. Some of the more popular characters. Correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the more popular characters are significantly more money. Like you can get like a Luke Cage for fairly cheap, unfortunately, because he's a rad character. But
That
you
is
can
too
get,
bad.
but like the premium characters, like the well-known characters,
Man,
are super expensive.
that is BS because Luke
It's-
Cage is a premium character.
Not
it's that
post
they're-
headband, not pre headband.
They have the
okay.
They have both the costumes and the characters, which are so you could get Luke Cage himself for relatively cheap. I don't know if he's like in the $6 or the $10 category, but like the costume that makes Luke Cage the badass that you might want might be like $20.
Bald Luke Cage.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so like this Hawkeye costume that I want with Kate Bishop is like $20 if I were to just get it. Whereas you can get like random drops. You can do the buy one get one free, buy one of the cheap costumes. But anyway, so I'm doing this, and it gives you like some of their money thing. They call it G. I don't know what the G is supposed to stand for.
Good.
Jizz.
That's Jay.
That's a J, but I mean it's like
It's like Jeff.
sorry, Giz.
So they give you some of that, but it's not actually enough to get a character or an item slot. So I decided I'm going to toss $5 into this game. I've played it enough.
What?
I know, right? $5 is a lot for me.
You
but
could buy like 3 games on Steam sale.
How many
for
Steam
that.
badges did you have to sell?
well, this is the thing, is that I've been selling Steam cards because why not sell the Steam cards that you get? So it went straight into my Steam wallet. So I used the fake money that I made from selling fake cards on Steam in order to buy fake costumes for these fake characters in this fake ass game. Like it's like someone got paid for this.
Oh, you're a fake entrepreneur.
Right. Like somewhere along the lines, people actually got money from Valve and probably from whoever does Marvel Heroes for me selling these cards, and I can use that to buy these games in this free-to-play thing.
I'm just giving you an example of the prices that we're
Yeah,
giving
like
away.
if you buy things directly in this game, it's kind of ridiculous.
Wait, but the outfits don't even show up on the characters?
No, the items that you get.
Items, like if you get loot, like you get
Oh,
new claws for
Yeah.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Well,
Dude,
they're not going to change the claws.
Daredevil is cheaper than Cable. What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Daredevil-
The Cable suddenly got popular.
The
all of a
invisible
sudden.
hand of the free market.
Apparently, Cable's like one of the better characters to use in
Dude,
the game. which is-
wasn't Cable one of the old like X Factor dudes from? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one
He
of the.
was the leader of X Factor. He's the future son of Scott Summers and Jean Grey.
No, it's Madeline Pryor. I think he's the son of the clone.
Is it?
I think so.
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, it's Rob Liefeld.
There
Who
are so many problems. with
Squirrel
X-Men.
Girl is more expensive than Storm.
Welcome
Storm is
to
one
the
of-
now.
Wow.
Storm is one of the original characters that you can choose from, and when I started it, everyone said choose Storm or you'll be really bored, and I chose Storm, and she was kind of cool.
So maybe I missed it while you were talking. You spent $5. What did you get?
I spent $5 to buy more space in my inventory or my stash or whatever because this game just bombards you with items.
Items
And
that
then
do not change your character.
And then I also bought a cheap ass character. I bought Hawkeye because if my goal is to get this Kate Bishop costume, I actually need Hawkeye.
What was the character that you chose when you first started?
I chose Storm.
Okay.
I got Cable quickly, and then I got Daredevil somehow. I don't remember how I got Daredevil.
You can't get characters as drops.
Yeah, Rowan mentioned that, but it's super random.
Yeah.
But you get these things called Eternity Shards, where you get enough of them and you can buy a random character, or you get even more and you can choose a specific character. So I think that's a relatively new thing. When it launched, it didn't have that. But now there's a way to grind for new characters, and that took me like 5 days to get enough to buy a random character.
I think I just sharded in my pants.
Did you Eternity Shard?
Scoot over here real fast.
Eternity sharded in my pants.
Like, do you feel... Okay, so it's an action RPG. Like,
Yeah.
Do you feel... Are you getting close to the end game for this? Like,
I've played through the single player mode, but like, it's kind of like Diablo, where you beat the story and who cares?
Well, yeah, but Diablo then fixed that by adding adventure mode in Reaper of Souls.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that.
Okay.
There's like this mid-town patrol where you just run around and it constantly respawns. It's just like a bombard you with things to kill mode.
Right.
And then there are various smaller scale ideas of that. And then there are like heroic modes of the stuff you've already done. And then like superhero modes, which are better than heroic.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that stuff was in the original, but...
Do we have a breaking news soundboard? This week in Kotaku breaking news. Kotaku blog? Your guide to watching this week's Halley's Comet meteor shower. A hack that gets you the most Taco Bell food for your money. And adorable Titanfall wallpapers.
Oh, what?
That was this week in Kotaku breaking news. Kotaku blog?
But can they make Far Cry 3 like Far Cry 2?
I don't even know what just happened. Did I just have do you have an aphasia? What's happening?
Yeah. By the way, Halley's Comet is not like this week. That's messed up.
I don't know, man. I'm on Kotaku.
Dude, what does Halley's Comet have to do with video games?
Well, that's my point.
Can you diagram the joke for me? I don't understand.
There wasn't a joke. I just
My
went to
jokes are too
Kotaku
complex for
and I
you.
started reading all the headlines.
My jokes are too complex for you.
It's fair.
Halley's Comet, Taco Bell, Titanfall wallpapers.
Are there naked Japanese
Star
people?
Wars is on
'Cause
sale on
I haven't.
Steam.
You haven't even mentioned a Mario cake yet.
No.
Yeah, what's your
Come
problem?
God,
Shitty shit.
journalism.
They don't do that cake stuff anymore.
Video game
Shitty shit,
journalists are
shit.
the worst, aren't they?
It's not the preferred nomenclature.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I prefer
This is why I'm a critic.
I prefer
So-
I prefer
so-
model train journalism.
So do you feel like I'm asking this, and I feel fairly jaded about it, but it's because like I kind of view Marvel Heroes as a blatant cash grab. Do you feel like you've put $5 into it?
Hey, I
Do
feel
you
like
feel
I've
like
got.
you've gotten your $5 worth?
I mean, I played like 15 hours last week, so that seems to be a pretty good deal.
Man,
This is what happens when you guys talk about comic
I can't
books.
wait until there's a game where you
I
can
go to Kotaku.
where you can fight. You'll be able to pit Boba Fett against Thor, like that. Like that's coming, right?
it's called Disney Infinity.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you're not that far from that.
Yeah,
Right.
they're starting to release the
They're-
Marvel
they're
stuff.
gonna
Yeah.
add the
Star
Marvel
Wars
stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Once-
gonna
They're
it's,
sitting on the
Probably
Star
early
Wars.
next year it'll
Yeah.
be Star
It's
Wars.
gonna be fucking Donald Duck encased in carbonite, and
I hope it's Howard the Duck.
oh man, oh where's my duck boobs drop when I needed it? Damn it!
I was staring at the Millennium Falcon Lego 150 set. Cost $150 at Target yesterday.
That
You
really
probably were.
nothing really gets the girlfriend excited like saying I'm going to spend $150 on Legos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though she did help me build the Slave 1 a couple weeks ago. That was kind of awesome.
Keep her.
Yeah, I know.
You're worse than my reckless daughter.
How many Dark Souls drops do you have?
Can't you see that I'm busy?
Why are they all Leningrad?
Drat.
Because he's the most interesting guy that I've talked to so far.
That's fair.
I know only of smithing.
What do you get when you kill the lady that levels you up?
Think.
You won't really get much.
Oh, really?
You get a lot of sadness because it gets real hard to level up afterwards.
How do you level up afterwards?
So you kill her, and then when you
God,
go
here we
back,
go
when you
again.
go back to Majula, you have to spend a certain amount of souls at her gravestone.
Because you told me the gravestone
to
thing.
summon her corpse, and it just like it totally. If you do it early enough, it totally sets you back.
Oh, but so
do
why
it-
not kill everybody and take their stuff? And
Because
then
you don't get that good of stuff from them.
Oh.
You actually get better stuff, and this is something that I really like about what Dark Souls 2 does now compared to previous games.
Now we're back.
The if you spend enough time and engagement on an NPC, you typically get stuff from them. So the blacksmith, not the blacksmith, the armorer that's in Majula, you spend like 16,000 souls with him over the course of your game, and then you talk to him when you have no souls. So first off, you spend money with him, and the more money you spend, the less destitute he becomes. When you first meet him,
The guy
he's
that
like,
upgrades your stuff?
No, the actual armor.
Oh, I've never been back to that dude.
So it's a house that's right by the.
Oh, you mean the guy who's just sitting on the floor who's like, "Oh, I hope you come back and see me again."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm so poor. I don't know what I'm doing here."
lame."
So,
Yeah.
so you start spending a little bit of money with him, and he progresses, and he becomes, "Oh, hey, it's good to see you. Business is really picking up. I happen to have some more items." And then when you start killing some bosses, you'll be able to buy their armor sets from him. And as you do that and you spend more money, he gets really fucking cocksure.
But
He's
first you have to-
Hey, I'm baller and I got all kinds of money.
But first
Come
you have
buy
to
some
spend
stuff.
souls?
Oh, you don't want to buy anything? Then I guess I might just sell out. So what the fuck?
So you have to buy stuff you don't need, basically.
Or it's stuff that will actually be good for you. Like if you decide that you want to go like really heavy armor and you get to Iron Keep and you kill the Smelter Demon, you can buy the Smelter Demon armor set, and it's like some of the heaviest armor in the game. but
No,
it's
I mean, in
fantastic.
order for him to sell it, you have to first buy stuff.
Well, in order for him to start upgrading his inventory, you have to buy some stuff from him.
But if you had
So-
20,000 souls, could you just, in one fell swoop, just spend 20,000
Yes.
souls and then you're good?
Yeah.
The way
So-
that
so-
you beat Marvel Heroes is by instead of buying a character, you buy a copy of Dark Souls 2.
That's
Well, that's actually
That's
one of the
interesting.
things is that you upgrade all the vendors by like just tossing them in your trash. Like they don't like automatically like upgrade the stuff they sell you when you level up. You have to like just like say, here, take all my crappy stuff that I'm not going to use. And there's a lot of crappy stuff that you're not going to use.
That game's free?
That's cool. At least you can sell
Check
stuff
that
in
out.
that game.
You know, oh, I found someone you could sell stuff to in Dark Souls 2.
I don't believe it.
Gavlin.
You can sell stuff to someone.
in the wharf area.
Have you gone back to him?
Uh-uh.
Can I spoil you?
I haven't even met
Well,
him
you're
yet.
spoiling Jay.
He leaves.
Oh man.
Oh, really?
He moves locations.
So I
you
guess
meet him, you meet him the first time, you sell some stuff to him, and you're like, "Oh, I can go back to him," and then he's gone. And then you run into him again, and then the third time you run into him is his like where he stays.
Oh. I found the returns. I mean, he doesn't give you that many souls for stuff, so it didn't seem
Not
like,
really. Selling things is not
Yeah.
super worthwhile in this
Yeah.
game.
But
So-
if you're carrying around 10 sets of Hollow Man armor, I mean,
Well,
you need
that's
to get
why-
rid of that stuff.
Yeah. So there's a character that actually this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Is it? Is it really?
There's
Oh.
there's a character that
Burn. Hey.
there's a character that you're gonna meet later on.
Can you press close on that? And then press record that camera?
Goodness.
We've the longest episode in Josh and Jay show
Oh,
history.
everything's breaking down.
There's a character you're gonna meet later on that you have to unpetrify her,
Mm-hmm.
and she asks you to give her equipment, and when you give it to her, you never get that back. But it changes what she
Depetrify
wears.
that woman.
I think I ran into a petrified woman.
You might have
Hey.
if you got through the tutorial area and you were just kind of wandering around.
Well, I actually ran through that before the tutorial. I did the
No,
tutorials.
that's different then.
But it's like I just went straight through and skipped all the tutorial stuff.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
went to
then you end up in
Majula, I think.
Majula, yeah.
Yeah, and then I just started wandering around and I found a petrified woman.
It's entirely possible. Yeah.
oh, yeah. When you go through there's also a guy you fight right there.
Not fight.
There's a guy you talk to first, and then there's like a
I
skeleton
fought
thing
him
you
though.
fight.
And then there's like
well,
a
of course
locked
you did.
door. There's a statue blocking
Yeah.
the switch.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that part
Yeah, me
because
too,
I just
until
went and
just
did
now.
other stuff. Yeah, so that
You'll go
petrified
back.
woman by the switch.
Is that later?
Oh, man.
And you give her you can actually give her equipment and you change her appearance because like you unpetrify her and she's in like rags.
So
She's
it's
a
not
little
like
bit
Marvel
big.
Heroes where you have to buy the different appearance.
No, it's
Okay.
not. it is like Marvel Heroes in that you give her the items well, no, it changes her appearance, so it doesn't even.
Well, can you imagine that though? But if you pay 99 cents, we'll give you 1,000 souls.
Dark Souls Online will do exactly that.
If
that coming
only it was 99 cents. No, I was actually thinking because I've been reading mostly Daredevil stuff. Well, maybe not mostly, but a lot of Daredevil stuff and playing as Daredevil in Marvel Heroes. And I was like, what would a Daredevil like Batman Arkham Asylum type of game look like?
Yeah, it could be good.
Because Daredevil is very similar to Batman in that like he doesn't have like that many superpowers.
It would be detective vision all the time.
Yeah,
It would be.
yeah, because he's blind.
Yeah.
So like you could do a whole lot of stuff with like the sound and sort of radar stuff that only a video game could really do. And
Where
I think
would
that would
it
be really cool?
Where would it be set though? Because you said Arkham Asylum, and that makes me think that it has to be in like a really specific locale.
No, not necessarily because you
I
could
wouldn't want to do this if
it-
it was just like Hell's Kitchen City,
Yeah.
Why not?
because I didn't like Arkham City.
Oh, well, I did like Arkham City.
Then you're gonna love Arkham City too.
Well, the Marvel has the Raft prison with all the supervillains in it.
Yeah,
so
I
they
mean,
could do
I think
something like that
Daredevil
if
would be
you really
cool.
need-
It would be. Would it get old after a
Or-
while of always being in that detective mode though?
But you could
see.
what you could do is you could base it off of the very short Marvel Noir miniseries that Daredevil. The Daredevil. Did you read any of those,
I
Rowan?
haven't read Marvel.
I remember
like
Spider-Man Noir.
A few years ago,
yeah, I've heard of them.
like maybe 5 or so years ago, Marvel did these miniseries called Marvel Noir, and they did it with a bunch of different characters. There was a Spider-Man one where he looked like it was basically like the Gotham by Gaslight Batman, but it was Spider-Man.
That's one of the costumes you can buy for Daredevil and probably Spider-Man too.
Yeah, all right. So the Spider-Man Noir storyline was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. The Daredevil one was fantastic. The Luke Cage one is really good. The Luke Cage Marvel
I'll
Noir
put it in my
miniseries.
library on Marvel Unlimited.
Oh yeah, the Luke Cage one is really good because it's like, it's just really good. I highly recommend it. And
I'm so happy that you're into Luke Cage too. Like that
Well,
dude is awesome.
I'm not super into Marvel in general, but there are certain things that turn me on. Like there are certain story arcs and little miniseries
like Black Power superheroes.
that I think yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, man.
but the fact is that they put the Noir series takes place in an era where Luke Cage's like sort of as a quote unquote blaxploitation character, like where he comes from, really.
Yeah.
Is it carries more weight when you put him in an era before the civil rights movement and then sort of let that simmer in the background of everything else that's going on is really makes for a really rich story, I think, given that it's super economical and it's only maybe 3 to 5 issues or something like that, but they don't need to dive into a whole lot because there's
a lot of
it's just the context tells half the story, and it's really good. So
Well, if you pay like $8, you can get those costumes in Marvel Heroes.
The costume doesn't get you the story though.
No,
Is it
it
just changing how you look?
But that's important.
So I hate to keep going back to this, but like I could play Diablo and I could change how my character looks for free.
Yeah.
You don't feel a little ripped off by buying like costumes?
Well, I mean, Diablo would have cost $60 or whatever, but I mean, they're different things. Like, I could feel, I would feel as ripped off as any other free-to-play game, and that has more to do with where it sets the boundaries of what the free-to-play can do for me and whatever. And like the inventory thing where I basically ran out of room and had to drop $5 in order to get more. Like, I can understand that, but if it gets beyond that $5, then I'll start wandering away.
Did you ever spend any money in Hearthstone?
I bought the $2 thing that gets you like the free card, the gold foil Tauren
I had
chieftain.
no idea Rowan was just busting out all these microtransactions.
By all
Yeah.
these, you mean 2?
Yeah.
Well, I just because I remember that you wrote for us about Hearthstone, and
Yeah.
and you know, and I typically have
I
a
tried.
pretty good. No, you did.
Did it get published?
Yeah.
Oh.
He doesn't even know when his work gets published, guys.
I know
Rowan's
it-
article about Hearthstone.
I
well,
looked
that'll
that
be included
shit up like
in the
3
notes
months
for this
straight.
episode.
But free to play is
Road's right.
interesting to me, right? Because like I feel like it gets a bad reputation a lot of times because people think it's going to be exploitive. And there are a lot of really good free-to-play games that tend to value your time and your money at the same time.
Yeah, this is something I wrote
Marvel
about.
Heroes isn't one that I think of, though.
It's probably not if I were to try to get really deep into it, but like in terms of just like spending a week throwing Daredevil's club at people and watching things explode, like I was okay with
It's
that.
actually hard to argue with that when you say it that way.
Like his rebounding club thing was just like press a button and everything blows up. Yeah. Like it sought out enemies all over the screen, and I just stood there. And like, I mean, it's not as deep as Diablo or Torchlight 2, but like, if you don't want that, then that's fine. It kind of reminded me of Defiance. I don't know if you like Defiance, but I did. Where just
I tried Defiance. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just like
that just went free to play too.
It did, and it seems like it might have in a bad way. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try it out. If I continue reviewing the show, I probably will. But
sure.
Yeah,
that's still a show.
Yeah, they just like the second season is like over a year after the first season ended. The first season ran from like April to June, and the second season starts in July of the next year. Wow. So I don't know what happened there. Sci-Fi just decided
the Louis formula.
Yeah. Treme did that too.
Speaking of Louis, that's gonna be on. I think I'm gonna go home and watch it right now.
What a segue.
Thank you for listening to Josh and Jay's Excellent Video Game Show. Go to joshandjayshow.com for show notes and more podcasts and videos.
You can follow any of us on Twitter at Joshua Doan, at Jay Pullman, at Rowan Kaiser. Cory Banks, I believe, is at Demiurge.
Mm-hmm. That's a great Twitter handle.
Yeah.
I'm
solid. Have they offered you money yet? Or?
No, they have the studio.
Yeah.
No, they haven't. We've had actually a fairly awkward conversation at PAX East about it.
I'm sure.
What is Demiurge?
Demiurge Studios is a development house out of Boston that did what's the robot game? Shoot Many Robots.
Yeah,
and they've done a bunch of port work.
Wait, so are they like the real Ghostbusters? Do they have the real Demiurge?
No, they have Demiurge Studios.
Their Egon has blonde hair.
There's a monkey for some reason.
The Demiurge is also a term used to describe various deities. Most specifically, it's used to describe
Gnostic religions.
Yeah, the Gnostic Christianity believes that the God of the Old Testament was like blind and evil. They call that the Demiurge, and then there's the real God.
I was like 13 years old and saw an episode of Aeon Flux.
Right.
Yeah. And they referenced something called a Demiurge. I was like, that sounds cool. I'm gonna be that.
And we'll be doing a new word at the end of every podcast. Email us, joshandjayshow@gmail.com.
When you hear the word Demiurge, everyone scream.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Jay, you want to outro us?
Game over.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will catch you next time.